Hey everybody, what's going on? What's going on? What's happening? This your girl Tiffany coming through right here live in effect. So tonight, I have to go there. I didn't want to do it. I already did a video earlier on my Facebook page, but now I see that I gotta do a second video because somebody wants to slander me. Somebody wants to accuse me of trying to promote pseudoism. So I want to clear my name up and I want to address this because I know how this person is. And the person I'm talking about is Brother Ankh. So I want to say this to you, Ankh. See, Ankh, you think you slick. You think you slick. You think you real slick. See, I've been knowing you for a long time. I've known you for a long time. And I know how you is. All right, so earlier I was addressing the whole claim about a book or books that I was promoting on my page. So there's a brother by the name of African Creation Energy, right? So he has a YouTube channel which is called African Creation Energy, which I'm going to play one of his videos to best to break down what the argument is in this case. So anyways, so I have three of his books. Right now, I'm only reading one of them. So this book right here is called Patah Technology. This one's called Nine Ether Reengineering. Okay. This one's called The Supreme Mathematics African Ma'at Magic. All right. So the brother, if I'm not mistaken, I believe at one point in time he was a Nawapian. Right. I know he was saying that he was Muslim, but I think he also was in the Nuwapian nation and he also studied under the Noon science. So if anybody doesn't know about the Noon science, that was Afro Uno. Okay. So in his books, there is some allegorical concept. He used African mythology to explain modern science. Okay. So he does promote science. However, he used African mythology and he used whatever he learned as far as the different schools of thoughts that he was in to combine those elements together to help explain the basics of science. Okay, because science is a very complex subject. All right, you have different branches of science, you have different fields, and it can be very complex. So somebody who's into science is trying to, and when they're trying to get to an audience of people who may not be as intellectual, who may not be able to comprehend or be able to understand or interpret scientific knowledge, what they'll do is they'll try to, with the individual who is very thorough in that knowledge or in the field of study, what they'll try to do is break down break down science in its simplicity by using allegories or mythology to help understand scientific knowledge. And that's what the brother was trying to do in this book, okay? Or in his books and in his videos. So one of the videos I'm going to play the video.
We hired the hotel
hold on.
so you can save a lot.
So I'm going to play one of the videos that he did. And one of the videos was about it was about the religious prophet in STEM. Okay. So I understand where he was coming from with this. And so you guys, I want y'all to listen to this video because this is Ankh's argument. He's saying that the guy was pseudo in this video, in particular because he tried to say that the Bible, in the Bible there was scientists, etc. And now understanding why the guy was making the claim or making the argument that there was his in the Bible. Okay, so I want you guys to listen, and you gotta listen very closely. All right. All right, so, oh shit. All right, so this is the brother African Creation Energy. He go by the name Ace. All right, this is his video, and he breaks down about the prophet and stem. All right, so I'm going to play this video because there's a reason why he used this. There's a reason why he made this video, and there's a reason why he's saying that, because he was addressing those who was in religion who tried to make the argument that they don't believe in science, or they believe in the Bible versus science. Well, it's like this. The whole concept, if you believe in the Bible, then you would know that in the Bible they talk about the Masons. All right, the Masons in the Bible, they were basically scientists. How? Because they use engineering, they use science, they use technology. It's not the technology that we know of today, but they use that form of technology, and they use mathematics. Okay, because they was building, they were builders. So he breaks it down, and pretty much to disprove the argument of those who are religious, who say that they don't believe in science. All right, so, or science doesn't have its relevancy. So I'm gonna go ahead and play this video. Let me play it.
Greetings, family. This talk today is entitled Tecton, a discussion of the prophets of religion who are also scientists. So people often think that science and religion cannot coexist. That is to say, if someone finds religion, it is assumed that they have abandoned science. And conversely, if someone finds science, it is assumed that they have abandoned religion. However, when we look to the scriptures, we find several examples where prophets, the men of God, the patriarchs of religion, also performed the actions of scientists or were involved in one of the STEM fields of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. If science and religion could not coexist, then there would be no examples of religious people involved in science. However, when we look to history, we see examples such as the House of Wisdom, Baitul al-Hakim, a central scientific repository during the Islamic Golden Age. When we look to the Nobel Prize winners, we see that 20% have been Jews, whereas Jews only make up 1% of the world's population. And 30% of scientists identify with some Catholic or Protestant denomination of the Christian religion, compared to 75% of the general public. So clearly, it is not the religion itself which prevents people from becoming scientists. I have often said that religion is a technology. Technology refers to tools, machines, techniques, skills, methods, processes, and practices developed for the purpose of accomplishing some objective. Ultimately, the purpose and objective that the technology that is religion was engineered for is behavior modification. That is, to instill a positive code of morals and ethics in its users. Like any technology, religion does not function to fulfill its objective 100% of the time. Just like every computer that is built doesn't function correctly 100% of the time, or every medication that is developed doesn't work 100% of the time, the technology that is religion does not instill the positive code of morals and ethics in its users 100% of the time. But we have to be honest and say that it does seem to work most of the time. When the technology that is religion works, it works good. Just think of all the countless positive ceremonies and gatherings where people come together in the name of religion over time. However, when the technology that is religion malfunctions, it can really cause harm in the form of wars, slavery, terrorism, cults, and physical and psychological abuse. For Africans and people of African descent, one particular harmful side effect of the technology that is the Abrahamic religious traditions is that we end up worshiping images of people of other races, which in turn has a destructive psychological impact of us viewing ourselves as less than. A big detrimental side effect of the Abrahamic religious tradition on the psychology of Black and African people is that it can force you to see God outside of yourself in the image and likeness of other races. But this harmful side effect of the technology that is religion can be reverse engineered and solved by highlighting certain scriptures which identify biblical characters as people of color and also depicting biblical characters as people of color. Another harmful side effect of the technology that is religion is that it can make people complacent and want to wait to be saved by something or someone outside of themselves rather than working to achieve things for themselves on their own. This complacency mentality is reinforced when certain passages and certain scriptures are focused on and highlighted, which promote that mentality. However, there are other scriptures that can be used to reverse engineer and combat the complacency mentality. For example, one of my favorites from James 2:14, faith without works is dead. Another harmful side effect of the technology that is religion is that it can be used to discourage scientific thinking and discourage its users from taking part in science. But look, religion is a tool, a technology. And like any tool or technology, how it is used depends on the person who is wielding the tool. You can use fire to cook your food, or you can use fire to burn your house down. You can use a hammer or an axe to build with, or you can use a hammer and an axe to kill with. Ultimately, the way the tool and technology is used depends on the person who is wielding it. If you are building a structure, you don't throw away your hammer simply because you banged your finger. No, you learn to use your hammer properly and safely so that you can continue to make use of that tool. So rather than discarding the technology that is religion just because it can be used improperly, let us highlight some scriptures and some characters in the Abrahamic religious traditions that were in the STEM fields of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Let us start at the beginning. In the book of Genesis, we see that after
But I thought he does not promote science, technology, engineering, mathematics. This is Unk's argument. He's saying that this guy who's the author of these books right here does not promote science, technology, engineering, mathematics. And we just heard this guy in the video. So therefore, you're lying, Ankh. You're lying. And he just said that what religion is used as what? The technology. Because if we look at proto-science means what? The early form of science. Okay? What was the early form of science? Before we know science of today, what was the early form of science? What was the early form of science? Spirituality. Spirituality and religion was they were the earliest form of science. Because why? They brought about interpretation. So religion was attempting to interpret science by trying to interpret nature and trying to understand the universe. If you look at the story of Genesis, right? There you go, Greg. I'm glad that you said, come on, Greg. Come on over here, Greg. Greg said, thank you. Mysticism. Mysticism. Thank you, Greg. You said it. Mysticism. You just said it. He hit the nail on the coffin. That's why they use mysticism, okay? Which means that they try to interpret science through religion's ideology, mythology. Okay? I'm gonna give you guys an example, and I always use this example. So Galileo, right? Anybody that knows about Galileo, he was an Italian scientist. Okay, he was brought up in the Catholic Church. All right, so the Catholic Church, the way they interpret science, they went by the Holy Scripture, the Bible. All right, so they believed that the earth was the center and the sun revolved around the earth. Now, by Galileo being a Christian, okay, he was able to go outside of the religion doctrine or what was taught in the Catholic Church to challenge the consensus. He said, okay, well, let me see if it's true. Because they saying that the earth is the center. But when he did his research, he found out that no, that's not the case. The earth is not the center. It's actually the sun is the center. And the earth revolves around the sun. So that's where you got the concept, heliocentric. Heliocentric means the sun being in the center and the earth revolving around the sun. Okay. So therefore, when Galileo came back to the Catholic Church and said, hey, I found some information and it doesn't prove that the earth is the center of the universe or the sun revolve around the earth. They was like, well, hold on, what are you saying? What are you saying? What you mean that the earth is not the center and the sun does not revolve around the sun does not revolve around the earth? He was like, well, you guys is wrong. This is what I researched and this is why I found out. He showed them proof and they weren't trying to hear it because they felt like this. See, this is where religion becomes detrimental. When I say religion becomes detrimental, it's because of the politics. When you bring about the politics, that's when it becomes a problem, meaning that reputation and looking for representation for the people. So because he challenged the consensus of the Catholic Church, they told him, okay, we're going to have to get rid of you. If you don't say that what we're teaching is the truth, then we're going to have to get rid of your ass. You cannot sit up here and challenge us. When you do that, you challenging God. Keyword, you're challenging God. Because they felt like they had all the answers about science through religion. So this is the earliest form of proto-science. But when people was able to go outside of the religious ideology and challenge the consensus, they were punished for that. But now that you got technology and you have things that's upgraded, you don't need religious books. Religious books are just merely belief systems. You don't need religious books. You don't need the Quran. You don't need the Bible. You don't need the Torah. However, people use those things because that's what they believe in, right? That's what they follow. You don't have to use the Bible as an allegorical standpoint. You don't even have to use some of the scriptures for interpretation. But people do that because that's how it helps them to understand, to navigate around the world and to be able to understand the scientific knowledge. All right? So with somebody like Galileo, who was smart enough to do his own scientific research, it was punishable. It was looked down upon. They told him that he was committing a crime by being what's the word? He was blasphemy. That's what's the term. That's the term. He was he was committing a crime. He was going against the church, and he felt like they felt like he was trying to outdo God. But how was he outdoing God? And who was God? Who was God? God is based on the ideology of the church. God is based on the biblical scripture. Now, to us, it may not make sense. It don't make sense. But to the church, they was dealing with the politics. It's the politics, okay? That makes the religion itself detrimental. Any Abrahamic religion, they deal with politics. And then also, not only there is the politics, there it creates the external conflicts and the internal conflicts. But that's a whole nother topic. That's a whole nother topic. All right. But getting back to the point, that's where the proto-science began, with spirituality and religion. Alchemy is used in the form of spirituality. And guess what type of science came from alchemy? Guess what type of science came from alchemy? Chemistry. So now that you got chemistry, alchemy is no longer needed. Alchemy is no longer in usage. Nobody has to use alchemy anymore. It's considered as pseudoscience. Same way with astrology. Astrology is used as part of what? A spiritual system. But guess what type of science came out of astrology? Astronomy. Astronomy came out of astrology. So now you don't need astrology anymore because you got astronomy. However, people use astrology for entertaining purposes. When I mean by entertainment purposes, what am I saying? What are you saying, Tiffany? What you mean about entertainment purposes? Well, people like to use zodiac signs. You know how we like to talk about we're Virgos, we're Scorpios, and what does our sign mean and all of that, etc. The zodiac sign is part of astrology. Now, to be honest with you, that's considered pseudo too. But we love it because we love how it makes us feel. We love the entertainment part of it. But it's just a belief system. It's a thing of the past. Nobody uses astrology and science. It's no longer needed. Now, in religion, they say astrology is evil. They think alchemy is evil. But if somebody who's into the spiritual system and dealing with the magics and who's into the tarot readings and all of that, they'll use that kind of stuff. So the point that I'm getting at is what the brother was explaining in this video. He was explaining the proto-science. Okay? We're not saying the Bible is absolute, Brother Ankh. Nobody is saying that. The Bible is not absolute. We know that it's not literal. We know that the stories are a bunch of mythologies. We know that. That's common sense. Okay, anybody with common logic know that. But because you are an atheist, you try to impose your atheism on someone else. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to look for something literal, and it's not literal. If you was watching the video and you see what the brother was saying in the video, he was basically combating against people who are religious, who saying they don't believe in science or who disagree with science. So he's basically saying, okay, if you don't believe in science, then obviously you haven't read your Bible closely. That's basically what he's saying. If you read in your Bible, you will see that there is some form of science being used in the Bible. Now, again, I'm not saying the Bible is literal. No, it's not literal. It's based off of mythology. And if you go back, look up the word, the Bible, it comes from the root word biblos. Biblos means the book. It's a Greek term that means the book. That's all the Bible is a book. And it's a book compiled with other books. The book of Moses, 5 book of Moses, the book of Matthews, the book of Genesis. That's all it are. All of those things are literature. That's all it is. It's just literatures. If you was in school and you took language arts, right, and you read the literature book, you will see that you will find a bunch of stories, different stories compiled in one book. I'm talking too fast because I'm kind of pissed off. My bad. You will see that there's a bunch of stories compiled in one book. All right. So you might find a book about the Odyssey, the book about Beowulf, the book about Romeo and Juliet, all in one book. That's how the Bible is. It's all books compiled in a book. So somebody who got enough sense know that it's not literal. It's just based off of stories. Okay? It's based off of stories. So we're going to get that part out the way. But let me go ahead and continue to play this video. Again, pay attention.
After God creates something, God has to look at his creation to see that it is good. In Genesis chapter 1, verses 3 and 4, God said, "Let there be light," and there was light, and God saw that the light was good. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 10, God created dry land and the seas, and God saw that it was good. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 12, God creates vegetation and saw that it was good. Repeatedly, after God creates something, God observes his creation to see that it is good, which means that there was a possibility that it may not have been good. Evidence of the possibility that God could create something that wasn't good and didn't turn out as planned appears in Genesis chapter 6, verse 6, where God observes how wicked humanity had become. And it literally says God regretted and his heart was troubled. So he had to scratch it all and go back to the drawing board and try again. This means when God creates, God follows the scientific method. God observes the result of his experiment. Much like a scientist, God would evaluate the outcome for quality control and quality assurance, much like an engineer or an architect, a grand architect of the universe. In the book of Genesis, chapter 2, verse 20, when Adam is naming the animals, he is essentially functioning as a taxonomist, a biologist that names organisms and groups organisms into categories. In the book of Genesis, chapter 3, verse 6, when Eve had two competing hypotheses about if consuming a certain fruit was deadly or not, Eve chose to perform the scientific experiment to test the hypothesis, and she took a bite of that fruit. In the book of Genesis, chapter 6, verses 14 to 22, when Noah is building his ark, he is functioning as a master builder, a master craftsman, a master carpenter. Now, we saw in Genesis chapter 1 that God can create just by saying, "Let there be light." So why now here in Genesis chapter 6, where God plans to flood the world and save Noah and his family, does God ask Noah to build the ark? Why does God just not create an ark for Noah and say, "Let there be an ark," and create one? No, God makes Noah build the ark because there is value in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. God makes Noah build the ark because you are not supposed to be complacent and wait for someone or something to come and save you, but rather you are supposed to use science, use engineering, use technology, use mathematics, use your own ingenuity like Noah to build and create something to save yourself and your family. The helping hand that you are looking for is at the end of your own arm. When Abraham crosses the Euphrates River into the land that would become Israel, that means he was an explorer. That means he had a question. That means he had a hypothesis that he wanted to test, that he wanted to investigate. And the religion of Islam, the titles of the chapters of the Quran, the surahs of the Quran revealed to the Prophet Muhammad have scientific implications, like chapter 7, El-Araf, meaning the faculty of discernment. Chapter 25, El-Furqan, meaning the standard criterion of truth and falsehood. Chapter 41, Fusilat, meaning expounded, explained in great detail and clearly spelled out. And chapter 98, El-Bayina, meaning clear evidence and clear truth, all refer to scientific concepts. Many people don't know that the holy book of the Muslims, the Quran, mentions Jesus more than any other prophet or man of God. However, it is in the New Testament, in the book of Mark, chapter 6, verse 3, where Jesus is called a tekton. The word tekton means builder, craftsman, and or mason or engineer, and it is the etymological root of the word technology. So if you desire to be Christ-like, you should want to be a tekton too. They asked the question, what would Jesus do? Well, if Jesus was a tekton, if Jesus was a master builder, a craftsman, what would Jesus do? Jesus would do science. Jesus would do engineering. Jesus would do mathematics. Jesus would do technology. That's what Jesus would do. In the Talmud, Jesus is referred to as Nagar bar Nagar, meaning craftsman, son of a craftsman, referring to the fact that both Jesus and his father were craftsmen, were engineers. So as we can see from the very beginning, science, technology, engineering, and math was involved at every step of the way in the scriptures. When they speak about that old-time religion was in fact science. Give me that old-time religion. Give me that old-time religion. If it was good enough for God to create, it's good enough for me. Give me that old-time religion. If it was good enough for Adam, if it was good enough for Noah, if it was good enough for Abraham, if it was good enough for Muhammad, if it was good enough for Jesus, it was good enough for me. We look back at the scriptures and we see science was there from the beginning. We realize that we never would have made it. We never would have made it without science. And
All right, I had to cut off towards the end because he had the music on there and they'd get you. See, They'll get you for copyright. So I had to cut it off at the very end. But as you can see, you guys, you got to be careful when people try to tell you that you cannot use allegories to explain scientific knowledge. This is what Ankh was trying to tell me, and I got proof, and I don't have to lie. As a matter of fact, shit, I wish I can get Greg on here. Greg, I wish I can get you on here, but let me see if I can get you on here, Greg. See if I can get Greg on here. Yeah, Greg, if you want to get on there, you just click on the link so I can get you on here, because you already know you get it. Yeah, I wish I could get you on here. But anyhow, as you can see, the brother was going into the proto-science. Okay, Greg, you on here. Cool. Hey, Greg, how you doing? Okay. Can you hear me?
Peace. How you doing, Quinn?
I'm doing fine. Okay. Hey, what's going on? Yes. Yeah, I just want to address this whole thing because, it's like somebody coming from an atheist point of view and trying to impose their atheism. As if you can't try and say stuff like you cannot use allegories to explain science. What? People do it all the time. I mean, come on now.
A part of science is, first, the brain works off associations. Let's get scientific with it. Let's get academic with it, right? The brain, the neuroplasticity of the brain, the way that we build memories and techniques and procedures, it's all off association. And then from a psychological standpoint, we know the power of archetypes, of having these indispensable, recognizable, differentiated principles, which usually come in signs of symbols. I mean, most of the things that we have put names to, identified, gave classifications to, we had to use allegory at first. We had to use things that symbolize and associate it with things. That's the only way to engage in the scientific process and get up off the ground of ignorance. Just one point.
Exactly. That's it. You know what I'm saying? You had to use symbols to describe things, to explain things. So when let's say, for example, let's say you got somebody who come from the hood. Let's say somebody from the hood that don't really know anything about science. You try to talk about science in a literal way. They're not going to understand. So how do you interpret it so where you can meet their understanding? You're going to try to speak their language. You're going to use a little slang, and then you're going to use objects that they might be familiar with to be able to help interpret and to break down the scientific knowledge to them. So they'll just be like, oh, okay, I get it now. See, I know what you're saying. So if I was to talk about mathematics in a science way, I would use a form of dice, like, playing the game of CeeLo, crabs, and all of that, right? Because that's mathematics. So if you use that will help them to understand, oh, okay. Oh, okay, I get it. I get what you're saying now. I see. So you have to use objects, and you have to use symbols. You have to use allegories. So to sit here and say allegories and science does not mix together, that's very nonsensical. It's illogical to say that. You know what I'm saying? But again, somebody like Ankh, who is an atheist, what do you expect from him? He has an atheist mindset. So he tried to impose his atheist views through science, and he think he's slick, and he think don't nobody know this. And you try, and then on top of that, bro, try to throw a little insult and think that I wasn't trying to point out, bruh, you're not gonna do that. You're not trying to insult me by saying that I'm promoting pseudoism. I'm not trying to promote pseudoism. Okay, I mean, I'm promoting these books because at first of all, I really don't need these books. Only reason why I'm reading it because I just want to see what the brother was talking about, and
As you
that way
should.
so I can interpret it where he's coming from. But other than that, I don't personally need them. I'm only putting them out there for people who may be interested and who want to deal with science from an African standpoint, or
Right.
you know what I'm saying, African mythology. You know what I'm saying? So I figured, well, maybe I can promote his books because it will break down the simplicity of science. As a matter of fact, I'm going to read a passage from this book. So let me go ahead and read. It's chapter 2 off of Patah Technology. African creation gods of technology. Reasonable scientific and analytical investigation into the various concepts of God from around the world and the various stories, signs, and symbols associated with the many concepts of God from around the world leads to the conclusion that the concept of God can be likened to that of a mathematical object. Check this out. He said mathematical objects are mental ideas, concepts, symbols, and or abstraction that are used to model, represent, symbolize, and provide a way for the human mind to comprehend and explain various observed phenomena and aspects of reality and the natural world. Now, check this out. He said, just like mathematical objects, there is no overwhelming concrete proof or evidence that God exists in the real world as described by various stories associated with the respective God concept. However, just like the mathematical objects, examples can be found in reality and the natural world that corresponds to the various definition, description, metaphorical, and or symbolic aspects associated with God and God concept. Now, what does that sound like to you?
A scientific breakdown.
Okay, scientific breakdown. But if you was to, what subject of science? What subject of science is it?
Physics.
Quantum physics.
Quantum mechanics, yep.
Yes, that's what he was describing, the quantum mechanics in his book.
Yep. Most definitely.
Exactly. So maybe
you know what it is, sis?
Go ahead.
It stems from people, atheists claiming, right, to be from the show me state, claiming that they don't agree with things because they haven't been proven. Academics claiming that things are illogical or anti-academic, yet not doing academic research, due diligence. I believe a lot, O.S.I.R.I.S included, addicted to appealing to authority, they end up feeling as though they have so much trust in the conventional consensus, the popular consensus of what the conventional elite academic institutions perpetuate, to the point where they stop doing what is at the foundation of being academic and intellectual in the first place. And that's studying, researching, comprehending. I remember when I was in college, English 2, term paper. Our professor told us that if we did not exemplify a comprehensive understanding of the other side of the argument, then we could only get a C or less. We could not get a B or A, just understanding the side of the argument that we're pro. We had to source the other side better than we sourced our own. And it seemed like people get so wrapped up in what they think they know and start to have this overabundance in the purity of academia correlating into a purity in the institutional and bureaucratic infrastructures around academia. It started to appeal to emotion and not even study. My thing is, if you think it's pseudo, be academic and scientific about it and actually study it. Actually look at it, suspend your own bias, absorb it from their standpoint, and then practice, experiment, demonstrate, observe, see if it's something to it, instead of assuming it's not just because it doesn't line up with what you read or what you believe. That's unacademic. That's unscientific.
There you go. Well said. There you go. Well said. Well said right there. Right there. See, with somebody who have enough sense to actually read something. Now, you may disagree with the interpretation interpretation. Now, there might be some pseudo concept as far as how it was being used in the books, but so far the author is on point. You know what I'm saying? He's on point. But like I say, it might be some, the interpretation is the part that makes it pseudo because of the school of thought that this brother may come from. You know what I'm saying? So I'm assuming this brother came from the Nuwapian school of thought, because when you look at his books and you see like the drawings and stuff like that, it's similar to those that of Nuwapian nation. So he probably used some of their teaching just to incorporate within modern science to help explain it. And you have to look at the audience. Who's the audience? You got to look at the audience. So the audience might be somebody that might be in that school of thought that he come from or that he came from. You know what I'm saying? So he has to figure out, okay, well, how do I go about explaining to these particular audience? They want to be able to elevate their minds. So I have to be able to get to their understanding, their level of understanding. And that's what you got to do. So it's nothing wrong with being literal. It's nothing wrong with being analytical. It's nothing wrong with that, because you need to do that. But sometimes you have to be allegorical too, so that way you can be able to get people on the same page as you. Or otherwise they're not going to get it. So I understand that he has a disagreement with those that are religion or religious. Those who are in, the Abrahamic school of thought. I get that. I'm not religious myself. I used to be into Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, so I know about those things. But I'm not in no religion right now. You know what I'm saying? So I have enough sense to know that, okay, I don't need religion to have common logic. You know what I mean? It was at that time when I was younger, yeah, because it was a guiding tool for me, but I no longer need it. So where I stand on my position, I understand what you call God in the sense of consciousness, universe, and nature. That's how I see God, in those three elements: consciousness, universe, and nature. That's what I see him. But other than that, we can't just, what I'm saying? You can't just like throw shade and just antagonize people because they may not be in the same area as you. You know what I'm saying? And then what killed me, he had the nerve to say some shit about he followed atheism through what he say? He said the reason why he followed atheism is because of the proto-science of Egypt, of the Egyptian. I'm like, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, dude, first of all, atheism is not even an African concept. To the last time I checked, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe somebody needs to show me, because atheism is not an African concept. You know what I'm saying? That's a Greek concept. The Greeks came up with the term atheism, not the Africans.
Right.
Okay.
Most definitely.
So, right. So I want to know, what the hell is a real black atheist? What is a black? What's a real black atheist? What makes you a real black atheist? What makes you a real black atheist?
I think that one thing that ones mistook is that they took the personalism out of the principles, out of the allegories, out of these subjective concepts, or we would say puzzle pieces in the equation, and a subjective equation. Again, people trying to make sense of a world with things that were beyond our understanding at the time, beyond what we could tangibly get a hold to and dissect and break down into increments. And for some reason, those who claim Nile Valley, a lot who claim Nile Valley that are hard atheists, instead of just being agnostic and saying they don't know, in most cases, they take away the personalism from the principles, when the concept of deity in this proto-science era that you're referring to always had personalism. Even if they were talking about photons, for instance, due to it, for one, being differentiated, having its own qualities, its own characteristics, in its own time and space-time where it arises, and when it dwindles, they gave it some personalism, a name to it, a gender to it, depending on how the energy is either expansive or receptive. Like, again, this is a part of being illustrious enough to reach people where they're at and actually transcend the I would say the more literal way of looking at things and expand that semantics to the subjective or to things that we can't get our hands on. How else can we bridge the subjective and objective though?
Ooh, you did that. When you did that, see, I'm glad you said the subjective and the objective. I'm glad that you brought that up. That's very important. I'm glad. See, you said you gotta look at you gotta bridge the subjective and the objective. So in other words, can we all agree? Can we all agree? Science, proto-science, even pseudoscience, all goes back to philosophy. Can we agree with that?
Most definitely. The first universities were in temples and now Valley. What were they learning? Who were the first teachers? The same ones that was giving spirituality were giving what we would call now geometry, right along with it, with a philosophy that binds the two.
There you go. There you go. So we gotta understand that they all come back to the concept of being philosophical. Okay? But science only just brings about the application. Once you bring about the application and you go through the process of falsifying and you go through the process of experimenting, observation, etc., using scientific methods, if it can be proven and shown to be proven, then it can be accepted. But if it's not really shown to be proven, then it's going to be considered as pseudoscience. All right. But here's another thing too. You getting ready to say something? Go ahead.
You just you know the brother Mugabe. He an atheist brother too. Shout out to my team, Heretic Brother. Ironically, there was a debate about science in the Bible. I was a judge. I voted against due to what was used. It was used in the pseudoscientific way, where it was like, okay, this scientific outcome or result says this, and the Bible says this, so it's science. When in all actuality, it's the journey that gets to the conclusion that makes it scientific, not the conclusion, right? It's the journey, not the destination. So I voted against it. Now, my atheist brother played devil's advocate, and he was like, no, bro, it's science in the Bible. That which you sow, if you shall also reap. That's based off botany, agriculture. I say, ooh, now if she would have said that the day before, I definitely would have changed my vote. But the whole that which you sow, you shall also reap, observing that happening in botany, observing that happening in agriculture, practically applying botany, and then taking that and be like, if that's the case, then maybe the same way that we sow these seeds and they sprout up, so the same way I could do with ideas, same way I could do with making new functions and habits, same way I pull these weeds up out the garden, maybe that's how I have to pull these vices out of the gardens of my mind. That would still stem from a scientific foundation if we quit playing freeze tag.
There you go. There you go. And see, let's look up allegories, because he tried to make that other argument. You don't know what allegory is. Okay. You want to play that game? Okay, we're going to play that game. We're going to play that game tonight. Let's see how much you know. Ooh. Yeah, let's see how much you know, Mr. Science, Mr. Scientist. Because, see, you think that science is supposed to be solely based off of atheism. That's what you think. That's what you think. You think science is just based off of atheism, and it's not. See, there you go, trying to impose your beliefs. So you think you slick, you're not slick. Let's look at allegories. So I was explaining allegories to him earlier, and what he kept saying, he kept trying to tell me that I didn't know what I was talking about. Let's look at the term allegory. Allegory is as a literary device, an allegory is a narrative in which a character, place, or event is used to deliver a broader message about real world issues in occurrence. Now, based off that video, brother Greg, based off the video, did he not use allegory in the video?
Most definitely. eloquently.
Okay. I thought I was tripping. Okay, hold on. Okay. Here it goes. It says authors have used allegory throughout history in all forms of art to illustrate or convey complex ideas and concepts in ways that are comprehensible or striking to its viewers, readers, or listeners. What did I say? Did I not show that in this book?
Yep. But that's what happened when people don't study what they critique. That's why people, I got a thing, I say comprehend, then contend. They got it backwards. Was want to just criticize based off eyeball estimates and what name or what generalized concept they have instead of actually studying to show themselves approved. The irony.
Exactly. Hold on. Let's continue. Now, it says writers and speakers typically use allegory to convey hidden or complex meanings through symbolic figures, action, imagery, or events, which together creates the moral, spiritual, or political meaning the author wishes to convey. Many allegories use personification of abstract concept. Personification. Did you not mention that? Did you not say that?
Yep. It's speaking a language. It's turning those things same like languages, like alphabets, phonetics. When the B, it was or the I, it was off of a bull. This was off of an ox. This was off of an axe. This was off of this and that, and then using those to piece things together to convey more complex thoughts.
Let's continue. Hold on. Now, the etymology. First attested in English in 1382. The word allegory comes from Latin allegoria, the Latinization of Greek allegoria, veiled language, figurative, which in turn comes from both allos, another different, and agurio, to arrogate, to speak in the assembly, which originate from agora, assembly. All right, so now it shows the different types. Okay, it says, I don't know how to say his name. Northrop Frye discussed what he termed a continuum of allegory, a spectrum that ranges from what he terms the naive allegory of the lights of the fairy queen to more private allegories of modern paradox literature. All right, so there's different types. You got the classical allegory, right? You got biblical allegory. You got the medieval allegories. And you got what? Modern allegory. And of course, you got poetry and fiction. Okay? So let's look at the classical allegory real fast. The origin of allegory can be traced back to Homer in his quasi-allegorical use of personification of, e.g., terror and fear. All right, and says the title of the first allegorist, however, is usually awarded to whoever was the earliest to put forth allegorical interpretation of Homer. All right, so and then skip on down. It says, in case of interpreting allegorically, Diogenes appears to be our earliest example, presumably in response to proto-philosophical moral critiques of Homer. Now, if he had said that it was a quasi-allegorical concept, I could understand his argument. Had he said it was a quasi-allegorical, I would say, okay, I understand where you're coming from. But he did not say that. What did he say? It's just flat out pseudo.
Which shows not doing one's due diligence. As we can obviously see, allegory has been used as a language to convey information that's not so easy to describe. That's not simple. We see that throughout the ages, but Again, one would have to be willing to study and look at things from a standpoint outside of themselves to even see this.
Okay, repeat that one more time for the listening audience, for the people in the back. Repeat it one more time.
Okay. In other words, throughout time, we see that allegorical language was a way to convey things that were unique and complex, that weren't easy to be expressed in simplistic terms, like an alphabet, where each allegorical symbol being a letter that you put together and piece together and make complete thoughts with. That T, what was a T that may have been an axe, or this A that was a bull. As we can see, it turned into something else. Now it's for phonetics, for I, for O, for E. But at first it was a bull, a rock, a dog, so on and so forth. The way that we have language in phonetics from pictograms, even before phonetics, pictograms are a prime example.
Right. Now you said the key word language. The key word you said language. It's the language that is used to explain the complexity. Now, why could you not get that? Why don't you get that? You so quick to hire out shit is pseudo before you even actually just sit back and think about it. Do you even think before you even say something is pseudo? Because you love that word pseudo. You toss that word around all the time. You toss it around. That's your favorite word, pseudo.
Which is pseudo. If we look at pseudo, it means fake. Like pseudonym is a fake name. Something unproven, undiscovered, not validated yet, does not make it fake. To say so is presuming, and again, unscientific and unintellectual. To assume that something is fake without doing due diligence, and at least trying to falsify it. And how can you falsify something before comprehending it? So who's really being scientific?
Okay, I think I lost him. But anyways, shout out to Brother Greg. He was on point. He made a good argument. How can't you prove something to be pseudo if you haven't went through the scientific process? Again, so going back to Ankh talking about, I don't understand allegory. Okay, he's back. Okay. Yeah. My bad. I didn't know what happened to you. I said, oh, he left.
just a mic drop, right? I just dropped the mic like,
Yeah, you was on point. You was right there on point. You hit the nail on the coffin with that. And they said, here's another thing I'm about to go into. Since I dropped the definition of allegory, let's look at what proto-science is, okay? Let's look at proto-science. Because see, let's see what proto-science is. All right, let's look at proto-science. Proto-science. In philosophy of science, there are several definitions of proto-science. Its simplest meaning, most closely reflecting its root of proto-science, involves the earliest eras of the history of science, when the scientific method was still nascent. Excuse me. Another meaning extends this idea into the present, with proto-science being an emerging field of study which is still not completely scientific, but later becomes a proper science. An example of it is the general theory of relativity. relativity, which started as a proto-science, a theoretical work which had not been tested, but later was experimentally verified and became fully scientific. Proto-science in this sense is distinguished from pseudoscience by a genuine willingness to be changed through new evidence, as opposed to having a theory that can be used to rationalize a predetermined belief. Confirmation bias. All right. So let's look at this. Philosopher of chemistry, Jab Burkell, defined proto-science as the study of normative criteria for the use of experimental technology in science. Thomas Kuhn says that proto-sciences generate testable conclusions, but nevertheless resemble philosophy and the arts rather than the established science in their developmental pattern. I think, for example, of fields like chemistry and electricity before the mid-18th century, of the study of heredity and phylogeny before the mid-19th, or of many of the social science today, while noting that they meet the demarcation criteria of possibility from proper. He questioned whether the discussion in proto-science fields result in clear-cut progress. Kuhn concluded that proto-sciences like the arts and philosophy lack some element which in the mature science permits the more obvious forms of progress. It is not, however, anything that is methodological prescription can provide. I claim no therapy to assist the transformation of a proto-science to a science, nor do I support anything of this sort is to be had. Now, the term pre-scientific means at roots related to an era before science exists. Hold on, let's read that again. Let's read that again. The term pre-scientific means at root related to an era before science exists. For example, traditional medicine existed for thousands of years before medical science did, and thus many aspects of it can be described as pre-scientific. In a related sense, proto-science scientific topics such as the alchemy of Newton's day can be called scientific, in which case the proto and pre-labels can function more or less synonymously, the latter focusing the more sharply on the idea that nothing but science is science. Now, compared to French science, which is considerably high speculative or even strongly refuted, some proto-sciences go on to become accepted part of mainstream science. The historical basis of modern, the historical basis of much of modern chemistry is based off the discovery of alchemy, a proto-chemistry using some of the modern techniques and process of modern proven chemistry. Now let's look at alchemy. What is alchemy? Hold on. What's alchemy? Now let's go ahead and look it up right here. Alchemy is an ancient branch of natural philosophy, a philosophical and proto-scientific tradition that was historically practiced in China, India, the Muslim world, and Europe. It is Western form. It is first attested in number of pseudepigraphical texts written in Greco-Roman Egypt during the first few centuries CE. Okay? Check this out. Alchemists attempted to purify, mature, and perfect certain materials. Common aims were chrysopoeia, the transmutation of base metals into noble metals, the creation of elixir of immortality, and the creation of panaceas able to cure any disease. The perfection of the human body and soul was thought to result from the alchemical magnum opus. The concept of creating the philosopher's stone was variously connected with all of these projects. Okay, and I'm just going to stop right there. So now you see the concept about proto-science, right?
Yes, most definitely. It brings a whole new meaning to not forgetting where we come from.
There you
Prior
go.
to we having the structure of the scientific method, we were still being scientific.
Exactly.
Which really should surprise people.
Exactly. Absolutely. Exactly. All right. Hold on. Okay. Now let's look up ethnoscience. Cause see, I think he tried to go against ethnoscience too. Let's see. Let's see what ethnoscience is.
Sis got cannonballs live.
Who?
You got cannonballs. I'm talking about 1800 swag. With each one of these points that you harping on, these puzzle pieces.
Okay, let's look at ethnoscience. All right, check this out. Well, you know what? Let me get a better definition. Let me find a better definition. Give me a moment. Hold on, give me a second. All right. Okay, let's go ahead and let's go into what ethnoscience is. As a matter of fact, the brother spoke about ethnoscience too. So let's look at it. What's ethnoscience? All right, so ethnoscience has been defined as an attempt to reconstitute what serves as science for others, their practices of looking after themselves and their bodies, their botanical knowledge, but also their forms of classification of making connection. Now let's look at the origin. Ethnoscience has not always focused on ideas distinct from those of cognitive anthropology, component analysis, or the new ethnography. It is a specialization of indigenous knowledge system such as botany, ethnozoology, ethnomedicine. According to Scott Adrian, ethnoscience look at culture with a scientific perspective. Although most anthropologists harbor this definition, ethnoscience helps to understand how people develop with different forms of knowledge and beliefs and focuses on the ecological and historical contribution people have been given. Let me highlight that. Ethnoscience helps to understand how people develop with different forms of knowledge and beliefs and focuses on the ecological and historical contribution people have been given. So wait a minute. So Ankh, so we can't use ethnoscience either? We can't use ethnoscience? Ethnoscience is not useful? Is that what you're trying to say too? So you saying that allegory and science can't mix together. Okay. So now ethnoscience can't mix together either? So you saying that science needs to just be looked at from a Western point of view, right? We supposed to just look at science from a Western perspective. That's how we supposed to just look at science. And that's it. We're not supposed to just have our own interpretation. We're not supposed to create our own cultural concept of how to understand science. We're not supposed to understand it from an African center standpoint, right? Because you claim to be African-centered. I'm starting to question, are you really African-centered? Are you sure you African-centered? Because if so, then you wouldn't have a problem with people using ethnoscience and using allegories. You know, as African descended people, we're more creative, okay? We understand things from a lateral standpoint. What do I mean by that? We understand things from creativity and abstract, all right? We deal with the concrete, but we try to find a deeper meaning behind it. So we try to look at the symbolism. That's what we look at. So for you, Ankh, you say that you are an African-centered man, but you got an issue with allegories being mixed with science. So if you have an issue with allegories being mixed with science, then you should have an issue with Yoruba. Oops, did she say Yoruba? Yes, I did say Yoruba. Because Yoruba is a form of science, it's a spiritual system, but they use science. Okay, they have their own interpretation of science. They use the creation myth. As a matter of fact, I could look up the mythology, the creation myth from Yoruba. Hold on. And since we want to go there, because see, that's how they navigate. And that's how they understand the universe. Hold on, let's look at the creation story from Yoruba.
So basically, science wasn't nothing until the Europeans kicked the Moors out and made their own remix.
Right. That's basically what he's saying. So you're saying that, oh, if it ain't Western science, if it ain't science based off of how the European interpreted, then it ain't science. That's
which is an appeal to authority, logical fallacy, 101.
But you know what? I can't really blame him because we live in a Western culture. We live in a Western culture, and that's how we have been taught to understand, different ideologies and different subject matter. We learn it from the perspective of the European. So you can't really blame somebody like Brother Ankh for having that type of mentality that he has. You can't really blame that. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you have to be able to use interpretation. You have to bring about interpretation too. You know what I'm saying? And bring it into a cultural perspective. Because if you just solely rely on one culture, then you're not going to be able to get it. This is why I like anthropology. Anthropology is the best science. Even though they call it soft science, but it's the best science because it helps to explain, right, the culture of humanity. So, and part of that is the ethnoscience, as we read. In the ethnoscience, right, each culture have their own interpretation of science. They use allegories. They use symbolism, all right? So the way the African culture go about using their scientific methods is different from how we use our scientific methods here in America. It's just like if somebody's speaking French and somebody's speaking Spanish, they're saying the same thing, but it's just two different languages. It's just someone speaking French, someone speaking Spanish over here, but you're saying the same exact thing. So it's the same way. The science is practiced different over here in Africa, and the science practiced different over here in America, but it comes down to the same conclusion.
Yeah, most definitely. It was 4 words, and that ethnoscience breakdown that like stuck to me. It was specialized indigenous knowledge system. Specialized indigenous knowledge system. But they say ethnoscience is. So it's like, do we throw all of that away? Do we throw the baby out with the bathwater? Just write it off as being primitive? Yeah, you're right. I actually have that mentality as well of how to break things down in this Western world that I've grown up in. The thing is, do we allow that to become training wheels? Do we allow training wheels to become barbed wire? do we let training wheels become barbed wire fences? Like, are we able to expand our perception and vantage point beyond what we're used to, beyond what we're engrossed in? Or do we just stick to the 4-inch shallow end of the pool, claiming that we're treading water?
Yeah.
Because we grew up in it, you know, we and it's good in ways. And when it comes to disseminating and breaking things down, differentiate, separating the ingredients, it's good to separate the yeast and the flour and the sugar, but it's not good to be able to put them all together to make your own cake. We got to balance it out.
Exactly. You got to. Hold on. Let's look up the Yoruba religion. So you know what? I have some books that's dealing with African religions. Hold on. But let's go right here, because this is everybody's favorite go-to website, Wikipedia. So let's see what Wikipedia has to say. Okay. And let's look at it. Let's see what they're talking about here. As a matter of fact, hold on. Let me go back to the. All right. So according to Wikipedia or Wiki1, what does it say? Let's talk about the Yoruba culture. Let's go down to the creation story. So the Yorubas, as a people, regard Olodumare as the principal agent of creation. According to one of the Yoruba accounts of creation, at a certain stage in the process, the truth was sent to confirm the habitability of the planets that were newly formed. The Earth being one of these was visited, but considered too wet for conventional living. After a successful period of time, a number of divinities led by Obatala were sent to accomplish the task of helping Earth develop its crust. On one of their visits to the realm, the arch divinity Obatala took the stage equipped with a mollusk that concealed some form of soil, wing, breast, and some cloth-like material. The contents were emptied onto what soon became a large mound on the surface of the water, and soon after, the winged beast began to scatter this around until the point where it gradually made into a large patch of dry land. The various indications they created eventually becoming hills and valleys. All right. And it says, what Abatala leaped onto a high ground and named the place Ife. The land became fertile and plant life began to flourish. From handfuls of earth, he began to mold figurines. Meanwhile, as this was happening on Earth, Olodumare gathered the gases from the far reaches of space and sparked an explosion that shaped into a fireball. He subsequently sent it to Ife, where it dried much of the land and simultaneously began to bake the motionless figurines. It was at this point that Olodumare released the breath of life to blow across the land, and the figurines slowly came into being as the first people of Ife. For this reason, Ife locally referred to as Ife Odele, cradle of existence. And I'm just going to stop right there. Now, this is the mythology from the Yoruba people, right? This is their creation myth. So, because of their mythology, now we know that all of that is not literal. We know that Olodumare, if I'm saying it right, I'm not good at saying African terms, but we know that Olu, I'm just gonna say Olu for short. We know that he's not real. We know that he does not exist as an actual being. He's not walking around saying, "Hey, everybody, my name is Olu." No, we know that it's not literal. Okay, we know that it's a mythological story, but it was a way to bring about interpretation of nature. It was a way to bring about interpretation of creation. So with you saying that allegories do not mix with science, you're saying that these people who are spiritual people, right? Who in tune with nature, they should just throw all that away because it's not scientific as the way that you describe it. It's not scientific based on the Western concept.
And it is based on the Western concept. That's the irony of it. It is scientific because it's just a different way of explaining and expressing things. So if we're bilingual, those who are more scientifically aware and in tune with astrophysics, right, with the cosmogenesis, we can see what they're talking about. We can also see the succession, and we can see how in modern Western science, we've come to be able to describe that and illustrate that in more conventional terms. So it's kind of like somebody knowing two different languages. What you say, Spanish and French?
Right,
and
exactly.
You have Unc West that knows Spanish and French, and he's telling people what they disagree with or what they're not saying instead of translating what the terms synonymously mean.
Exactly.
So are we going to link it and put it together? Or are we going to keep separating it and cutting it dry? As they've been doing ever since the, what they call that? The Renaissance. The Renaissance is where they split so-called science and so-called spirituality away from each other. And we've been following suit ever since. Maybe we should revisit that.
Yeah, maybe. But maybe. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I encourage y'all to do, okay? If you want to understand ethnoscience, right? If you want to understand about proto-science, right? And the other topics that I was dealing with tonight, study anthropology. Why do I say study anthropology? Because when you study anthropology, you can get a clear conscience and a clear understanding. You wouldn't have to deal with people like Brother Ankh, who is so quick to throw stones and quick to hide. Oh, that's pseudo. Oh, pseudo. Now, I'm not saying that there are not pseudo information out there. There is. And get back to what I was saying earlier about pseudoscience. Not all pseudoscience are bad. Check this out. Not all pseudoscience are bad. Because, for example, did you know that aromatherapy is considered as pseudoscience? Aromatherapy. And if anybody know about aromatherapy, that means like when you light like an incense, or if you light like a candle or something, and it has that smell good, you know, you can smell the, you know, the scent. It gives you some type of, it's supposed to make you more calm and more peaceful, and, you know, things of that nature. It's considered as pseudoscience because it's not enough scientific evidence to actually prove that it will work for everyone. It doesn't mean that it's bad. You know what I'm saying? It's not a bad thing. Just like Francois. For those of you that don't know what Francois is the Chinese practice of moving furniture around your house because it helps to bring about different form of energy. So it, you know, that way, if you move, they believe that in the science, in the Chinese philosophy, that if you move your furniture around, that energy can flow differently in your home. All right, but that's considered as pseudoscience. But that doesn't mean it's bad. It's not a bad thing to move your furniture around. Every once in a while, you gotta move your furniture around, but it just have not been scientifically proven.
Which goes back to, like they say, success is not a destination; it's a journey.
Right.
Science is not the destination; it's the journey. Pseudoscience is skipping to the destination without validating that through the journey.
Right.
That doesn't mean that it can't be. That doesn't mean it hasn't been done. Therefore, we can't deem it factual. But as we know, it's way more that is real that we don't know than we do know. So what makes that such a big deal?
Right, exactly. And so, yeah, the point is you gotta be careful when people just toss that around. And again, there are information that are misused and that they are very harmful out there. I do agree. There are a lot of misinformation, but everything is not based off of pseudoism. Okay? Everything is not based off of something that's considered to be bad. So, and everything that's pseudo is not always bad, and everything that you read is not always pseudo. All right. So just like let's talk about how people criticize our elders, like Dr. Ben and Dr. John Henry Clark. Now, there was some Chancellor Williams. Now, there was some misinformation. There was some misinformation on their part, but you got to remember at the time period when they wrote their books, okay, they didn't have the technology like they do today. All right? Like for example, with the DNA testing, that didn't come about until the 90s. The whole concept of DNA testing. But back then, you didn't have those DNA tests to actually prove and verify things. But now you got a technology that can go back and verify, and they can find fossils that goes back and bones that go back to 25,000 years. You know what I'm saying? So the point is that they didn't have enough knowledge. All right. They only go by what they knew and what they were taught. Now, Dr. John, one of my favorites, this man was very thorough, but there were some things that he had a misunderstanding of. Okay. There was some misunderstanding on his part. However, he was on point with a lot of things, but there were some things that he wasn't on point with. And it happens. It happens. All right. But the thing is, we can't just be so quick to just throw them under the bus and say, oh, because they pseudo, you should not look at them. You should not read. You should not learn anything about them. You should not even study their information. That's not fair. See, you don't want to come from a place where you discourage people from learning. You know what I'm saying? If you're really passionate about people learning something, they have to start off from the basic level. Now, you got to sometimes meet them where they at so you can help them to grow. Even if that means that you have to use concept of spirituality to explain things to people, that's what you have to do. That's what you're going to have to do. Even if that means you got to use like little objects around a neighborhood or the block to explain something to them, that's what you're going to have to do. So people may not always get things from a literal standpoint. They may not understand literal interpretation. So I'm not saying that there's no misinformation in these books. There might be some misinformation, okay? But let's look at what the brother was trying to do. He was at least trying to make the attempt in his books to explain science the best way he knew how. Now, again, there may be some misinformation. It could be a possibility in chance. All right? It could be a possibility. But at that time period, you got to look at who was his audience. And why did he write the books the way he did?
Well, I'm a part of his audience. Could you drop the link to how to cop them books with that brother? I definitely love to patronize.
Okay, then shoot. Yeah, well, you know what? It's best to get them on Amazon because that's where I got those books from Amazon. But yeah, I can drop you the website, his website. Hold on. I'm gonna go ahead and get the website.
Gratitude.
Yeah. And again, there's things that you might not agree. You may not agree with everything. That's all right. That's okay. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you may
That
not
goes
agree
with the
with
territory of nothing being perfect. That they're in the light of new understanding, we'll see things differently. I mean, that comes with not knowing everything.
Right, you're right. That comes from not knowing everything. You're correct. Absolutely. That's where it comes from. Hold on, let me get you his YouTube channel. Let me get you his YouTube channel.
Man, it was a point in time when the Wright brothers couldn't get any funding because the scientific community thought that it was pseudo for such a large object to defy gravity long enough to fly in the air until they were proved wrong, and then they came with the law of flight.
Right. Exactly. Right.
We can't fossilize this stuff. It's supposed to be ever moving, ever changing, like Kepler, ironically.
I'm glad you brought that up. Wait a minute.
Bounce
Do I need
fast.
to let's look at the mythology. Let's look at the mythology of ancient Egypt. Let's look at the mythology. I'm glad that you brought that up. That's the last point that I want to bring up. Cause see, oh boy. Let's look this up. Hold on. I'm about to woo. Let's look at the creation myth. But again, we can't use allegories. Okay. We can't use allegories. Okay. But you show in the world said that you are an atheist based on the proto-science of Egypt, right? Ancient Egypt. of Egyptian. Hold on. Wait a minute. You say you are atheist because of the proto-science of the Egyptian, right? So therefore, you kind of contradicted yourself. You kind of contradicted yourself in a sense. You really did. No, you know why? Because again, they either had proto-science, like you said, and so therefore they use allegories. Because atheism is not even an African concept. That's not an African concept. Unless you can show me. Maybe I'm wrong. If you can show me and prove that atheism is an African concept, then I'll listen. But it's not. It's not an African concept. It's so they base theirs off of spiritual systems. But I guess you say allegories can't mess with science. Let's see what their creation stories is about. See, so according to the website, it says ancient Egyptian creation myths are the ancient Egyptian accounts of the creation of the world. The pyramid text, tomb wall decoration, and writing dating back to the Old Kingdom have given us most of the information regarding early Egyptian creation myths. These myths also formed the earliest religious compilation in the world. The ancient Egyptian had many creator gods and associated legends. Thus, the world, or more specifically, Egypt, was created in diverse ways according to different parts of the country. Some versions of the myth indicate spitting, other masturbation as the act of creation. The union between the first divine couple brought forth another brother-sister pair, Geb and Nut, who in turn created Osiris, Isis, Seth, and Nephthys or something like that. An extension up to this basic framework was the Osiris myth involving God, his consort Isis, and their son Horus. The murder of Osiris by Seth and the resulting struggle for power won by Horus provided a powerful narrative linking the ancient Egyptian ideology of kingships with the creation of the cosmos. In all these myths, the world was said to have emerged from an infinite lifeless sea when the sun rose for the first time in a distant period known as was it Zetepi? It was transcribed as Zetepi. The first occasion, different myths attribute to the creation to the different gods. The set of 8 primordial deities called the Odad, the self-engendered god Atum and his offspring, the contemplative deity Ptah, and the mysterious transcendent god Amun. While these different cosmologies competed to some extent, in other ways they were complementary as different aspects of Egyptian understanding of creation. Okay, so so the ancient Egyptian had their own understanding of mythology, but I guess you won't say they pseudo, right? Of course you wouldn't say that. Of course you wouldn't say that, because that's the proto science they had at the time period. So my thing is, why could you not understand for the life of me, Ankh, when the brother was using his allegories to help interpret modern science? Why could you not understand that? What was so complex about that? And I mean, I'm not saying that there's not information that's not based on some pseudoism. I'm not saying that. There could be some pseudo information. There could be. Oh, now you want to get on here. Oh, now you want to get on here. You want to get on here, Ankh. You want to get on here. Oh, now Ankh want to get
Where
on.
he at?
Oh, now,
He
yeah,
don't
now
want to get on here.
Now you want to get on here. Okay, now you want to get on here. Okay, I'll send you the link. Come on with it. I'll send you the link. Come on with it, because you came for me. You came for me in my post. You came for me in my post. Come on with it.
I saw
Come
it.
on with it. Come on with it.
On my timeline.
Come on with it, Ankh. Come on with it. Come on with it. So you want to get on here? Come on with it.
It was too much speed bag activity going on for an hour and 30-some minutes, you know?
Come on with it. Come on. You ain't finna make me famous. You come on, bring yourself on over here, because you've been talking. You've been coming for me, bro. You came for me. I didn't come for you. You came for me. I sent you the link. Check your Facebook. I sent you the link. Check the Facebook so you can come on here and we can have this discussion. Check the link, cause
I don't want to do that.
Check the link. Check your Facebook. I posted on your Facebook.
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe I should post it on your inbox. Okay, now you want me email. Okay, well, let me go ahead and send it to his email.
Man, why you couldn't scroll up and click on the link I clicked on?
Exactly.
How you think I got here?
Exactly. That's all you want to do. You know what?
See, that's scientific. You feel me? Reproduce it, a demonstration. You ain't even got to hypothesize. You feel me? Just look at my experiment. I scrolled up, hit the StreamYard demo, and then there was some more steps after that in between. But, you know, reproduce so it's not falsifiable. Huh?
Hold on.
I don't know, though. The chat might have been going up.
Hold on. Okay. So I sent him the email, so hopefully he'll get the email. But good. So hopefully we won't be on here for that long, because you know how he get. You know what I'm saying? You know how he do. You know how he do. So I'm waiting on Ankh to get here. Okay. I'm waiting on Ankh to get here. I'm waiting on Unc to get here. But the thing is, you gotta, for real, you have to stop that. You can't just do that. You know what I'm saying? Because you gotta remember, at one point in time, we all come from a humble beginning. Yes, there are some people, again, as I mentioned, there are some people that has no intention on doing good things, like that Dane Calloway boy, whatever his name is. I don't know nothing about him. That Dane Calloway boy going around talking this indigenous stuff, telling people that Harriet Tubman is not real, Frederick Douglass and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? He's doing harm. He's doing more damage to people because he's lying to them.
Yep.
And he's lying to them about history. He's lying to them. That's not fair. That's not right. That's disrespectful, especially to the family of those who are related to these people. You know what I'm saying? But if somebody is not intentionally trying to harm anyone, but trying to help people to be able to gain a broader understanding or be able to have some type of understanding, then you shouldn't just shoot them down, because that's all they know how to do is interpret things in their own way. That's all they know how to do.
That's plausible.
Right.
But
You know what
I mean, but how long? In Vogue said, "Free your mind and the rest will follow."
Exactly.
How long do we allow training wheels to stop us from learning how to ever ride the bike? Or do we take them joints off and risk skinning our knee a couple times?
Exactly.
But that is true, though. We that's part of reconnaissance. Is by knowing the context, the background, the vantage point of who or what we're talking about, critiquing, criticizing, either which way. Like, it's all depending on how much we have a comprehensive understanding of who and what we're talking about. So in that respect, in the context, I agree with you. We definitely have to look at where people are coming from, what they're seeing, nature and nurture, everything that has to do with one's vantage point and perspective. Because it really means everything.
All right. Well, I don't know what's taking him long. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. So, I mean, you guys
don't really want that.
We're waiting on Ankh. So hopefully Ankh can bring himself on here, because I don't want to wait too long. So
yeah, he want to come out. He want to come after the fireworks over with.
Right.
With a broom, trying to sweep up ashes. You know. But let's see, though. I would love to see some type of rebuttal. I hope
he's saying his computer is booting up, so he probably had some technical difficulties. So
okay.
Yeah, he's saying his computer booting up. But yeah, anyways, but you doing too much. You do too much. You really do too much. You know, and like I say, you think you slick. You gotta cut that foolishness out. You think you slick, you not slick, bruh. I've been paying attention. See, I ain't saying nothing. What you mean turn it on? I don't see you. You gotta click on the link. You're not clicking on the link. I'm not running. I'm sitting right here. I'm not gonna run.
Turn it on.
I'm not.
Turn what on?
Right. Turn what on? You gotta click on the link.
Right. You sound like you just turned your computer on. You talk about turn something on.
I'm not running. I'm not scared of you, You don't scare me. You might scare the rest of them, but he said he turned his computer on. Ain't nobody scared of you,
See?
You're not scaring me, because you know I'm gonna say something. You know I'm saying something. But this is my first time actually go this long and do this video to address you. Because you're not finna play with me. You're not finna play that game trying to sit up here and put up a post about I'm promoting pseudo science books. I'm promoting pseudo books. Like, what you trying to do is try and insult somebody intelligent. Who you think you is, Like, out of all people, out of all people, and then you gonna tell me source up or shut up? You don't even pay attention to my posts. You must not realize that I use sources all the damn time.
Facts.
If you go on my page, you see nothing but sources most of the time.
But see, that's the thing, sis. Ones be scared. Ones be scared to truly look and research and investigate what they call pseudo, because they afraid that it might be some truth over there or some questions over there that may shake their way of thinking, and they can't swag it out in vainglorious confidence due to appeals to authority.
Exactly. Okay, so he said he turned his computer on. I don't know how long it's gonna be. So
Man, it's like warming his car up or something. What type of computer is that, brother? Man,
I don't know.
Green screen or something?
I don't know what's going on. I don't know. But I'm sitting here waiting patiently. I ain't going nowhere. I'm right here. I'm right here. I ain't running.
Express himself and see how he try to clean this up. But he really probably, this is my prediction. I think I'm going to come on here. He going to appeal to authority, make a whole lot of presumptions.
Okay, there you go right there. Hold on. There you go right
there.
Okay. Are you there? So what's up?
Yeah, Greg, you've been running for a while anyway, though, Greg.
What?
Well, Greg was on point. Greg was on point the whole time. He was on point the whole time.
I ain't had to hear Greg. I already know where Greg at.
Yeah, we old friends.
Mm-hmm. Let me make this point.
Okay, go ahead.
Plain and simple, I teach science to the best of my ability. I teach scientific literacy. I don't want to hear about the ancient, whatever, the tribal. That's not what we're doing here. Strictly science, straight like that. So whatever that guy think he was doing, I called it pseudoscientific because he had some good information with some non-cipher information. That's the same way I learned it from Malachi York. He was a master at that. And I see the same type of thing. Like, stop it. Teach religion and then teach science. The people can take it. That's all I was saying. That's all I was saying.
Okay, so wait a minute. Hold on. Do you know what type of audience he has? Yes or no?
It don't matter. We don't need that.
It does matter because you gotta hold on. Let me tell you why it matters. Hold on. Because everybody may not understand science from a literal standpoint. Just because you have an understanding of literal science, just because I have a literal understanding doesn't mean that next person does. So you may have to go to the basic level to where they stand at, so that way they can be able to help, get some type of interpretation. You may have to speak from a standpoint of spirituality. You may have to speak from a standpoint of religion or whatever school of thought they belong to, so that way they can get more involved and get in tune of what scientific knowledge is and get some type of understanding. So I don't think the brother was trying to be pseudo, or he was trying to do it in a bad way. I think he was doing it because he was trying to bring some type of basic understanding, or trying to explain in its simplest form, because science is a very complex subject. And I'm gonna tell you right now, from somebody who's trying to study into quantum physics is not an easy subject. It's not an easy science field to study. You know what I'm saying? So if somebody who has a thorough knowledge about science, who's into science, they can probably be able to interpret things a lot better and be able to explain it on a level where somebody who's dealing with spirituality or dealing with religion or dealing with whatever school of thought they in, so they can be able to just pick up on it and say, okay, now I can get it. Now I get a better understanding. Now I see where that person come from. Okay, it makes sense now. Now they explain to me differently.
Like if a traditional practitioner of E5, he don't got to try to make it science, because E5 is simply a cultural expression and the understanding and the worldview of a people. So he don't got to do that. Just teach him E5 and then teach them science. If they're not astute enough to understand science, then it might not just be for them, or bring them along slow. What you can't do is you can't mix the two. You know why? Because our ancestors didn't do it. You can look at the origins of the history of the scientific method and the origins of science. It's in Africa, and they didn't mix them up together. The Egyptians didn't do it. So for the first time in the annals of history and recorded history, you'll see the Egyptians making an attempt to get God out the way, get the ancestors out the way, get the spirits out the way, and stay with strict empirical data. We can pull it up on the screen if you want. So I'm gonna do it like the ancestors did. I'm not gonna play the mumbo jumbo game and fake people out like that guy doing. I don't know if he's doing it on purpose or not, but he's carving his own niche of pseudoscience. I can smell it a mile away. Simple as that, though, Tiff. Sir, whatever crowd he got, look, pseudoscience sell. Simple as that to our community.
Hey, can I ask you something?
You absolutely can.
Okay, good. So you just said something in relation to our ancestors not quote unquote mixing science with their cultural understanding of the world. Could you elaborate on how ones can have a cultural understanding of the world, be investigating, be observing, create specialized knowledge, and that be removed from the scientific pursuit of such?
Greg, they was trying to they never reached the full stage of completely separating science from their religion. They was working on it, goddammit. Hard.
Okay, thank you for modifying that for me, sir.
Yeah, I just want to make sure they was working hard. They didn't quite get it, and that was their downfall. It's definitely their downfall, bro.
Okay, so what about, do you respect proto-science, ethno-science? Prior to the science, you said the scientific method and the origins of science, even though the origins of science came way before the structuralized scientific method as we know it. What about the time in between, the space in between? Could you elaborate on that more?
Elaborate on what?
The space between proto-science, before science, the beginning of science, to us having the standardized scientific method as we know it. Was there science going on prior to us conceptualizing and structuralizing the methodology as we do now? If so, could you elaborate on it?
Go give me a definition of proto-science. Let's see what you're talking about.
Oh, man, you got to catch up. All right, okay.
I want to give you
Sister Tiffany, could you bring it back?
Damn, man. Come on, man.
Yeah, sis did a whole breakdown. You talking about source it up.
Yeah, she got to source it up.
Proto-science, like prior to the science, like it didn't start in the Renaissance. Science didn't start in the Renaissance. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's just the way that we do it. She'll be back pretty soon. That's the way that we get it now. I understand it. The way that we structure it, basically structure and standardize it. But it wasn't always like that, as you know, and as you just remodified. They didn't separate science and spirituality, quote unquote, like you initially said. So with that being said, why throw the baby out with the bathwater?
No. I said the Egyptians was the first people to make an attempt to separate science from their religion, but they didn't quite get there. But they built what I would say the foundation of modern science. And can I share my screen to bring my evidence?
Sure, you can go ahead. Sure, you go ahead.
All right, here's my evidence right here. I'm gonna go real easy. I'm gonna go light. I ain't gonna go heavy.
And yeah, sis, while he doing that, he asked
It's
to
right
bring
here.
up the meaning of proto-science. I hit him
No,
with
I
the
got you.
proto-science while you was
I'm gonna
gone.
do y'all one
Okay,
better
hold
than
on,
that.
hold on. Okay, hold on. I
Y'all see the
see.
screen?
Okay.
Y'all
Yes,
got the
I see
screen?
your screen. Okay.
It says science. The free encyclopedia. All right. Science is the systematic enterprise that builds, organizes knowledge in a form that is testable, explanations, and predictions about the universe. So science is predictive. So for something to be scientific using empirical data, it has to be able to predict. Now watch this. It tells you the earliest roots of science can be traced to the ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia around 3000 to 1200 BCE. And it talks about their contributions to mathematics, astronomy, medicine, entered and shaped Greek natural philosophy of classical antiquity. Thereby, formal attempts were made to provide explanations of events in the physical world based on natural causes. And I ain't got to get into the rest of that part. And I'm going to bring y'all to right here to close this completely out. We're going to go to the history of the scientific method. Y'all see the screen, right?
Yeah, I
Yes,
see.
sir.
Okay. So the history of the scientific method, you start to see people's names like Aristotle, right? These were these naturalists, these natural philosophers, right? Let's come right here to the early methodology, right? Right at the beginning, you see the Edwin Smith papyrus. It says there are few explicit discussions of scientific methodologies in surviving records from early cultures. The most that we can be inferred about the approaches to the undertaking science in this period stems from descriptions of early investigations into nature. It says in the surviving record, an Egyptian medical text that Edwin Smith Papyrus, 1600 BCE, applies the following components, examinations, watch this, examinations, diagnosis, and treatment and prognosis to treatment of disease. You don't see no deities in there for that, no spells, no spirits. Watch this, which displays strong parallels to the basic imperial method of science. And according to G.E.R. Lloyd, played a significant role in the development of this methodology. The Ebers Papyrus in 1550 BCE also contains evidence of traditional empiricalism. Simple as that. And if you look right here in my hand, I'm showing you the book right here. Go get this book right here. It's called Magic, Reason, Experience, Studies in the Origins and Development of Greek Science. It tells you how the empirical method is coming from Africa. So why would I do anything else? Africa is the beginnings and the origins of science.
I know that. I know that. I know that is the
Right.
beginning.
So there's no European
But I'm surprised you have a
science.
book that came from the Greeks.
No.
Yeah.
No, in this book, it tells you. Remember, I just read. What I did was I read the encyclopedia and I got the sources they used. That's
Okay.
all. So
Can I deal? Let's deal with that source.
Huh?
Let's deal with that source. Some words stuck out to me. Right, testable explanations and predictions.
That's right.
With this organized knowledge.
That's right.
You said it was no spirits, no spells, no deities, no spells, no spirits.
For the first time in history.
Right. So let me ask you, are you telling me that there were no deities, no spells, no spirits in their testable explanations and predictions?
No, as a matter of fact, the papyrus is pretty long. In the section when it's talking about treatments, they don't got no spirits, nothing in there. Now, when you get to the next sheet of paper, then you'll have some deities and stuff like that.
Like the cosmogenesis.
No. Listen, but they separated it from their actual explanation. This is for the first time in history this happened. Before that, in Egypt, they'll have a line of something. They'll have a spirit of God. They'll have a line of something. And they was trying to get away. They was working on separating it. Remember, the believing brain, right? Stone Age brain, we are actually designed to believe because it saves us. I was running down the trail the other day and the damn grass moved. I guess it was a rodent or something moved. Dude, I didn't stop and ask questions. The natural shit automatic. I believed it was something that could harm me, and I gave him the O.J. Simpson slide. I got up out of there, right? But this is our mind is programmed like that, and religion actually hijacks that. So I'm very critical on how I'm teaching science and the scientific method.
Now you said they tried to get away from that, all right?
Yeah, they
I'm not calling that presumptuous, but would you agree that there's a difference between trying to separate and to differentiate? They had a more complex way of looking at things. They did differentiate.
Okay.
But they had what they were differentiating within a greater order. They did not separate or segregate. They differentiated. It's like different people standing under the same umbrella. To separate or segregate, they would have to have had science in a different umbrella, up under a different umbrella altogether. Would you agree? Because I mean, you said that they tried to separate, and I think the only thing that you're showing so far is them differentiating. But them differentiating doesn't mean they tried to separate. On the contrary, they were synchronistic and pantheistic. So it still all fit under a holistic, totalistic umbrella.
Yeah, I hear what you're trying to say, and I'm trying to say they failed in their attempt, bro.
Right, but I'm saying you presuming that attempt.
No, I'm not presuming anything. I'm telling you that you can see the actual. Listen, look, see this book right here, y'all? This is the Atlas, the Illustrated Human Body. Right? I'll never forget this moment. I was in Barnes and Nobles. Me and my peoples, we was talking about Egypt and all that. She was like, our college professor told her they was using spells and stuff in Egypt. I say, no. I said, they was trying to break away from that. And I was looking at an anatomy book, right? At the time we had this discussion, right? And I looked and I opened up the back of the book and look what I got.
How are spells not testable explanations?
Just hold on. You see this, right? Spells are not. Spells are just that. They spells.
They're not.
Right here.
What makes them not testable explanations?
You can't test a spell. It's just that
they're definitely explanations. So what makes them not testable?
They're not very good explanations. Let me read this. It says the Edwin Smith Papyrus, written in ancient Egypt script, 1900 to 1600 BCE, is the earliest known medical literature, consisting of 48 cases history. It describes conditions, diagnosis, and treatment in a rational and systematic way. A spell is not rational and systematic, bro. I'm not going to argue with you over that. You can have it if that's what you want to do.
Testable. It's a testable explanation.
How you going to test a spell? It's a spell. It's a cantation. It's a saying. It's a grouping of words, tones, information.
What he was saying is that was the earliest form of science before the science that we know of today. That's how they did things. You even just admitted that they tried to separate that, but they failed. So basically, at that time they couldn't really separate spirituality from science. Wait a minute, hold on, because spirituality, right, was the proto-science. You even said it on my post. You said that the reason why you are atheist is because of the proto-science of Egyptian. So you even said it yourself. They tried to separate the two. So they were trying to make the transition. Hold on. They tried to make the transition from spirituality into science.
No, they wasn't trying to get away from
science. What we know is modern science.
No, they wasn't trying to get away from spirituality. See, this is what y'all missed.
You said they tried to separate it.
That's what you said.
No. Rome and Greece and America, you got priests, preachers, the conjugation, and you got science. They just don't have that shit in the same building. You're not gonna write no medical script and on that motherfucker say Jesus loves. You're not gonna do that. They're gonna throw you out the pharmaceutical joint. It's not going down. But that doesn't say you don't have this spirituality.
Not modern. No, not in modern time. Of course, you're not gonna do that in modern time. But
And
in
I'm
the
saying
ancient time period, look at in the ancient time period. We're talking about in the time period before there was modern science. What did they use as a form of science?
They
Spirituality and religion.
Listen, no, they only knew what they knew. I'm
That-
not going to knock them for that. I'm not denying that they had spells. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, but their spirituality ain't what changed the world. This is what changed the world.
No.
It says right here, look. It
But
says,
I mean,
look, it says medical
their
milestones.
spirituality had that
Now,
in it
spirituality do nothing.
instead
Everybody
of
got their own
restricting it.
spirituality. You see this? This says medical milestones, bro. Right? It say the millennia humans have been trying to understand and treat every manner of body ailments. Here are a few examples and achievements of medical first along the way. Right? You come right here and say in 2650 BCE, I am Hotep, one of the first physicians known by name and the father of Egyptian medicine is born. Surviving papyri indicate earlier origins of Egyptian medical knowledge. So the African spirituality didn't change the world. Every group, every clan, every tribe had their own spirituality.
We're not saying that it changed the world.
Science was a part of the spirituality that you're talking about. You're making a differentiation with your modern mind, reverse engineering their perspective, approach, and vantage point.
No, me and you can sit right here, yo. Come on, bro, and we can understand that each spell is cultural. Each culture got a different type of spell and a different type of festival. So we know that's not going to work on the coronavirus, on trying to build.
No, of course it's not going to work on the coronavirus. No, we're in a different time period.
No. Listen, I'm saying we're reasonable people right now. I'm not trying to reverse engineer anything. I'm simply saying that none of the Egyptian gods and goddesses and none of the customs and spells actually help treat people. It is obvious. They got away from that and started using empirical data to treat people. And this is why Egypt was great. It wasn't great because of the spirituality. It was great because of this battlefield medicine. They invented battlefield medicine. Shock trauma still do the same things today almost.
Okay, but this the thing though, bro. That was cultivated. Okay, what you're differentializing as science sprouted out of the soil of this culture, this group of people, this way of thinking. So you really you're trying to pull the roots. You're trying to pull the plant of science and its roots out of the soil that cultivated it, out of the soil that it germinated in. And that's what makes it fallacious.
No, I'm not. I'm simply saying as long as they had their spirituality wrapped up in it, the shit didn't work. That's what I'm saying. Regardless.
Wait, but they had their spirituality wrapped up in it during the time they made that medical papyrus you were talking about. Did none of that work? Did everybody die in surgery?
No, listen.
So wait, which one is it?
No more different than when a doctor goes to open up an open heart surgery and he's a Christian. He does not step into that operating. He might pray before he go into the operating room, but when he get in that operating room, he used the medical procedures that he learned in medical school.
And they wasn't doing that in Kemet?
Yep, of course they was doing all of that. But I'm saying,
so what's the problem? Why?
It's not a problem. I'm not sure. I'm not saying it's not the problem. It's the separation of it that makes it superior. Because human beings are spooky. That's my point. We're very spooky. We're very, you know what I'm saying? That's what we do. We want to believe things. It's part of our, it's what I do. It can be considered going against our programming when I'm just not going to believe that shit. But for people to believe and be superstitious, that's part of being humans. It comes from our ancient Stone Age brains when we was in environments that we had to do that type of shit. So
you're marginalizing. You're using dualized, polarized extremes to illustrate at the expense of the middle ground. So let me ask you this. Is there a possibility, like in Kemet, or like that person you're talking about that prayed before they do the surgery, but still are technically sound, is there a way to have a healthy balance, or does it only have to be one or the other, like what it seems like you're proposing?
No, I never said that. The healthy balance is to do what later on cultures would do. put the science department over there, and the priest, y'all niggas stay there. Simple as that. Don't you get into the science, and we won't mess with your religion and your congregation.
So it's a matter of preference. You like the Eurocentric approach better.
I don't think it was a Eurocentric approach. It was the Egyptian.
So you're basically saying that somebody who's
they didn't separate it, remember?
No, they actually raised the Greeks up because the Greeks, remember, science was in.
They didn't separate it either.
Look, Diop's book.
Post-Moorish Europe.
Hold on, Diop's book. This the part y'all probably don't get. I don't think y'all getting this where they was at. I'm saying science wasn't in conflict with the Egyptians, with the Egyptian priesthood, because it was the priests that was developing science, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so it says right here, it says science was in the hands of and developed by a body in service to the state with which it was born. The clergy, the source of science in Egypt, and the state that it serves can therefore not enter into conflict for the sake of science or anti-intellectualism or sectarianism, as in continental Greece. So in Greece, when you start talking science, guess what they did to you? In Athens, where Anaxagoras, Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle were all sentenced to death, or almost was, because they taught scientific ideas received from Egypt and well ahead of the local institutions, while the Egyptian religion engendered science, like you saying, right? Where it wasn't okay, right? Athenian religious traditions protected itself from science of the Egyptian origin. So that's why I'm saying the state-sponsored religion was going against science. We're going to murder niggas. On the other hand, the Egyptians, since the priesthood was activating and studying and putting together science, right? It wasn't no conflict there. But what I'm trying, right. Okay, so we recognize, but what I'm trying to say was, if they could have completely separated it from their religious traditions, because right. They appeal to tradition. They like, it's called appeal to appeal to antiquity. The Egyptians always thought because it was older, it was better. But see, that ain't true. Yeah,
that's under the genetic fallacy family.
Yeah. So that's what they was messing up at all the time.
But okay, so you're picking the conflictual modern version over the holistic, balanced, Kemetic version. You're picking the Renaissance, Enlightenment, European, after kicking the Moors out version of a conflict between science and spirituality. And you're saying that's better than our people's version that was holistic.
Yeah, hold on. Let me say this. Brother, let me ask you a question. What do you think of ethnoscience?
That I don't agree with that. It's in conflict with each other because science is the science. Yeah, look at 2 words. Spit the words up.
So you don't believe in specialized indigenous knowledge systems?
Yeah, right. And so I don't.
Why not?
Because I don't agree with indigenous science. No such thing as indigenous science. It's just science.
No such thing as indigenous science.
Not at all. It's just science.
So you tell me every culture can't have their own practice of science?
That started with them.
Science is universal.
But you're saying each culture. So okay, we know that it's universal, but can they have their own practice of science or how they interpret science?
As long as they follow scientific method. Yes, as long as they follow scientific method, empirical data, absolutely. Yeah.
So wait. So there was no science before the scientific method as we know it?
There's no evidence of it until we look into these imperial and medical papyrus, and this is, of course,
no evidence of it. Did it not exist prior to the scientific method as we know it?
Well, the earliest form of it come from Africa, it come from Egypt, as far as empirical wising. So I don't think it takes time to get to that. So early, I mean, shit, we can go to Homo erectus, Homo ergaster. You know what I'm saying?
Whoa, let's just keep it with the sapiens.
I'm saying they tool makers before Homo sapiens. They was making tools.
Okay, so that was science.
No,
science and technology.
No,
tool making, revolutionizing hunting, and wait, that wasn't science.
I know that's why we got
applied science.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't there yet. It took time to get there. You got to respect the process. I respect the process.
Right. So tool making, you have to observe the situation and then hypothesize how the creation and formulation of tools will help improve and innovate that situation. And then you have to experiment.
No, I don't know about all
And
that.
then you come to conclusions.
Yeah, you don't
You
know. You gotta
falsify
be
by demonstrating and seeing if it works.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good, but it's got to be empirical, yo.
What?
Don't take empirical science to make no damn rock tool, yo. Chimpanzees is in the Stone Age, so if you saying they taking using empirical science,
I just broke down the scientific method and the development of it, though.
no, they wasn't using science because
So now you really picking and choosing because you can have the scientific method going on, being demonstrated, coming to conclusions that can be tested, and you saying now for what? Because it ain't come from post-Moorish Europe.
No, man, it didn't come from Europe. It came from East. I wonder why you keep doing that. I just read the article say it didn't come from Europe. Why would you say that?
Yeah, because the conflictual differentiation between so-called science and so-called spirituality started elsewhere. What you're using is an origin point with Nile Valley. They didn't have that conflict.
That's not the truth.
But you have that conflict.
You're not operating
so
from
your
an
stance is different.
brother.
You cannot deny that the articles I just presented told you that the origin of the method is in Egypt and the origin of science starts in Egypt. So for that point,
yes,
y'all need to bring more evidence to show what they was doing. But it's so if you say I'm using the scientific method, you can't say it's European. That's crazy.
But when you're operating, you're not operating from an African center standpoint. You're not. You're not operating from an African center standpoint. No, you're not. Because you're in the Western culture and you operate from their standpoint of view of science.
And
you're
you
not
think it's better.
Standpoint.
You think that's better. The conflict between science and spirituality.
Yeah, we understand that. Trust me, I understand that.
No daggone science in that. In America, people, there ain't no conflict.
Okay, so you said
in America.
You said that they started off good, but they would have did better if they would have separated science and spirituality even more.
Of course they would have, because the data would have panned out and showed them just because your ancestors didn't use iron, you might need to use iron against the Assyrians instead of using tradition over that.
That's right. So now you're getting back to tool making, being scientific, but I'm gonna leave that alone.
Yeah, because you just throwing it out.
So let me ask you this. Let's just say, hold on. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you a question. So let's say you go to the continent, right? Let's say you go to the continent, to Africa, and you see how they do their scientific methodology over there. Now, would you say what would be your response if it was different from how it's done over here in the Western culture? Right.
They don't do it different. That's why it's called science, because it's universal.
How you know they don't do it different? How you know that? How you know for a fact they don't do their science different in the West African culture?
Oh, all right. Turn it
how you know that?
Because I know that because scientists around the world.
How do you know that? How can't you prove that they do their scientific?
Because you can just type in the Einstein project, in science, in Africa, they got their own journals now. Like they don't even need Europeans to do nothing for them. They don't need nobody. They practice in science. Science is universal, though.
Okay, we understand science is universal, but everybody don't have that same exact technique of how they go about doing their scientific method. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, they do, Tiff.
Okay, so show me in West Africa they have the exact same science technique as the one here in United States.
That's why it's called science, because it's universal.
No. You didn't know that, No, we're not gonna do that.
The approach ain't universal. The style, the technique, the methodologies aren't universal, and you're picking the more modern, Eurocentric, westernized approach versus the Nile Valley approach that you adhere to. It's kind of like 3-car Molly right now.
No, that's blackology, when you think it's some tribal science over science. That's nonsense.
Wait, are you calling Nile Valley science tribal science?
It's a tribal.
And are you calling Eurocentric science, quote unquote, science? Again,
I've never heard of Eurocentric science. I don't know what that is. I'm not acquiescing to a faulty premise.
European centered.
No such thing. It's not centered in
Yes,
Europe.
it is.
Yes,
When
it
they
is
took
in the
over,
Western culture. We going by the Western
You think so?
scientific
Why?
right, you
methodology.
had scientific racism and everything, and you saying it don't exist? Like, what you
Man,
talking about?
and that was pseudoscience, though. So what's your point?
Okay, we know that pseudoscience, but we still the methodology of how science is practiced in America
It's
is
from
based off
Africa.
of hold on. It's based off of Western culture, but they get
How?
theirs because they get it from the Roman Greco society. They not getting it from Egypt.
Are you serious? You ain't
And
just say this? Come
they're
on, Tim.
getting it from when they took over their own stuff back
Are y'all
again.
serious?
When
Y'all
they
gonna
took
do that?
over,
Exactly.
when they took
Y'all
over
gonna do that?
Do
Spain,
you know who they
took
said was
over.
the medicine of science?
Wait a
They
minute,
ain't say
man.
I'm in hotel. You know who they say that was the medicine of science?
Y'all see this right here? What y'all talking about?
Do you
Say
know?
the
But do you
early
know who they
Greek
say?
We're
science can be
talking
traced to
about
ancient Egypt.
institutions. We're talking about institutions that were controlled in different lands by different groups of
Exactly.
people.
That's something. That's a different conversation, though.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
See, you want to just go off the pure
If I
art
want
of
to say a
science.
simple word, say
Again, like
after
I
the
said
fall of
before, you
Western Roman
can. You
Empire.
want to separate the institutional and bureaucratic infrastructures
No, hold on.
that fund and cultivate scientific institutions.
Hold on, yo. It says, hold on. Thereby, the contribution of mass astronomy medicine in the Greek shaped Greece and natural philosophy of classical antiquity. Thereby, formulating attempts were made to provide explanations of events in the physical world based on natural causes. After the fall of the Western Roman Empire, knowledge of Greek conception of the world, deteriorated.
Deteriorated.
Deteriorated in Western Europe during the early centuries, 400 to 1000 of the Middle Ages, but was preserved, there you go, in the Muslim world during the Islamic Golden Age. Like, come on,
No,
man.
keep
Y'all
going,
bugging.
keep going, keep going. Please keep going.
So now
It said the
Please
recovery
keep going.
and assimilation of Greek works and Islamic inquiry. This is called the House of Wisdom, right?
Keep going, please.
Inquiries into Western Europe. So it came into Western Europe from
Keep
the
going,
12th to
please.
the 13th century.
Let's get to this scientific revolution.
It's a revived natural philosophy. It revived it. We know the natural philosophy comes from Egypt. It's which was later transformed by the scientific revolution. So they transformed it. They didn't invent it. They transformed it. That began in the 16th century as
Yes.
new ideas and discoveries.
And that's what you're saying is better. The
No, man. I'm
product
saying
of the
it's a lot
scientific
better.
revolution in the 16th
Man,
century, their version is what you're
no,
saying is better than our people's version, more ancient version,
no. I'm
less
saying
conflictual version.
you keep saying our people. I'm simply saying that the plane, the Oro Wright brothers invented in 1903 wasn't better than the plane that dropped the bomb on Hiroshima. But without Oro and them inventing the plane, you wouldn't have a plane that dropped it 40 years later. The
I
bomb.
mean, that's non sequitur. You're talking about the magnitude and impact of technological innovation. That's non
How they
sequitur
get in here,
to the
Onyx?
context and the subject matter.
Through the door, really? Man, go. How you gonna let bugs in the house, bro? God damn, right
Yeah,
there.
bomb better. Yes, a bomb's better.
No, man. Yeah. I don't know about all that. Honest, you gotta step to that.
Okay, so when we were talking about earlier, right, that what you're claiming to be a better, greater. Damn, I'm gonna fucking close that.
Of course, it's gonna be better, man. Turn the light on.
Wow.
So all I'm saying is, come on, we're not gonna sit here and act like that the work that our ancestors did wasn't built upon.
We didn't say that. We didn't say that.
That's all I'm trying to tell you, that science is farther along based off of what our ancestors did. And without it, you don't got it. So the roots of
We're not
science,
saying that.
remember, is you people. What I'm saying is people can't keep saying it's European science. No, it's the constant adding to. It went all the way around there, bro. You can't do all that. Really, Onyx? Did you see it? All right, man. All right, that's enough. I can smell that shit over here. He did way too much. Open the door, go outside, let the bugs. That's crazy, bro. All right, little man. So I'm just making a point of issue. When people make the statement that that's European science, they are in error based off of world encyclopedias. It's not European science. It's just damn science. That I can make the claim it is really the foundation is Egyptian science if I wanted to play word games. That's all I'm saying, though, sis. That's all I'm saying, Tiff. Right? Better, not better. That's subjective. Huh?
But you act like the Europe.
Man, go. Hold on, Tiff.
Okay.
Are you serious, yo? Man, fucking really killing them.
It's flying. It's what? It's flying. It was flying.
Bro, why you let the fucking thing in the house? Damn. That's a big motherfucker, too.
I sprayed it most of the time.
Oh,
They don't be dying.
dude. You was crazy, bro. Y'all is crazy. Oh, shit. It's about to fall out.
You see it?
Yeah, look. Oh. Where you at? Y'all is crazy. Wait. Here, there you go. You and your man have fun.
What you mean have fun?
It's about to fall out. Why do you do all that, yo? I cannot believe it with that. Man. Boy, them damn kids, boy, they doing too much.
They doing too much, huh?
Wait, open the door, bugs coming in the house.
You said bugs came in the house?
A big ass bug.
What kind of bug?
They look like a flying water bug or something.
Ugh.
Came in the house. Is it still jumping around? It looked like you just sprayed it. You all right?
Ooh, okay. But yeah, getting back to the point.
Yeah, let's get back to that.
And my whole point is, I don't know what you was trying to do earlier, but that wasn't cool. Huh?
I'm saying that guy would teach suicide.
No. What you was trying to do, you was trying to make it seem like I was trying to be pseudo.
Nah, I ain't not you. I say you was both pseudo, but you don't say nah.
And I explained it to you. I kept explaining to you over and over again.
What's that?
I kept saying why, but you kept saying, "Oh, it's pseudo." You like the word pseudo. You like throwing that word pseudo around every single time. You just like it because it feels good. But let me tell you what I learned. Everything that's pseudo is not always bad either. Okay. Everything that's pseudo is not always bad. Because like I was giving an example earlier, okay, like the aromatherapy. Aromatherapy is considered to be pseudo. Did you know that?
It is.
Okay. Did you know that Francois? Are you familiar with Francois?
It is pseudo. I got a whole book called Trick or Treatments. Yeah, it is pseudo.
Okay. But just because it's considered to be pseudo doesn't mean that it's a bad thing.
No, it don't mean it's a bad thing because sway ain't gonna hurt nobody.
Right. Aromatherapy ain't gonna really hurt nobody either.
Yeah, but calling something pseudo don't mean it's a bad thing. It means it's just not. It's trying to look like science, but it's not. That's all pseudo mean. It don't mean it's a bad thing.
Okay. But see, the way you describing this brother in the book, you describing like, oh, what he's doing is just such a bad thing. Like
what he's doing is he's mixing what he want to consider to be spirituality, the Bible, and saying some kind of way that they had for you to tell something in allegory, it has to be something.
There's a reason why he said that, Ankh.
Why?
If you was paying attention to the video, there's a reason why. Hold on, there's a reason why he gave that explanation. Why? Because there's people in the religious community, especially in the Christian community, that do not believe in science.
Okay.
So his argument was, okay, if you don't believe in science and you think science is such a bad thing, then you must not been reading your Bible. Because
they wasn't practicing science in the book of Genesis. So he gonna lie.
Okay, so you saying that the Masons wasn't practicing sciences?
The Masons is during the period of enlightenment is when the Masons came around.
Okay, but you know the Masons are mentioned in the Bible, right?
I don't know about there ain't no Masons in the biblical period.
Okay, you sure that the Masons are not mentioned in the Bible? I can pull it up.
positive, yo. There's
Okay.
no Mason.
Okay,
Masonry.
let me go ahead and
you
pull up.
know,
Let me pull up Masons in the Bible.
yeah, that's not. Yeah, you mean stone cutters?
Yeah, you
16th
mean tell me
century
they didn't
stone
use
cutters?
science? So you tell me that stone cutters didn't use science? There was no
Yeah,
science used.
no, it's during the masonry. European masonry started during the period of enlightenment in those areas. So you got masonry and you got the Rosicrucians, and they was going with they were saying Egypt is the source of all religion and all science. Those people was breaking away from the Catholic Church, and then the Catholic Church made them seem like they was horrible people. So yeah, the Masons was breaking away from religion. I don't know how it got back into religion, but they was actually supporting Egypt. You can read that. You can read that in Mark Brunell's work. But ain't no Masons in the Bible in the
Okay,
60
hold on, hold on,
BCE.
hold on.
How you gonna have science before science?
How you gonna have science before science?
Yeah, that's crazy. You gonna have some
It's called
rudimentary.
proto science. It's called proto science. It's
Yeah, but
called
did you
proto
read it?
science.
I know. Did you read it though? We're not talking pro. That's like proto writing. We ain't talking
That's
about proto
proto
writing.
science is early science. So hold
Yeah,
on. Let's find out who the Mason was.
yeah, you crazy. How long you had your
Okay,
channel, Cliff?
I'm sorry.
How long you had the channel?
I had this channel for a long time, but I didn't start doing videos. It was, starting, making videos like I'm doing now until last year.
Mm.
Yeah, until last year, until like last year, 2020. Okay, so
I'm gonna go to something serious on y'all. What do you see, pro?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
Okay, so let's look it up. Haram Abif, right? Haram Abif, or widow's son, is the central character of an allegory presented to all candidates during the third degree in Freemasonry. Haram is presented as the chief architect of King Solomon's temple. He is murdered inside this temple by three ruffians after they failed to obtain him the master mason's secret password. The theme of the allegory are importance of fidelity and the certainty of death. Check this out. It says the Masonic legend of Haram Abif. The tale of Haram Abif, as passed down in Masonic lodges, underpins the third degree. It starts with his arrival in Jerusalem and his appointment by Solomon as chief architect and master of works at the construction of his temple. As the temple is nearing completion, three fellow crafts masons from the workforce ambush him as he leaves the building, demanding the secrets of a master mason. Haram is challenged by each in turn, and at each refusal to divulge the information, his assailant strike him with a mason's tool, differing with jurisdiction. He is injured by the first two assailant and struck dead by the last. All right, so let's look up Harams in the Bible. In the Hebrew Bible or Old Testament, there are three separate instances of people named Haram that were involved in the construction of the Temple of Solomon. Haram, king of the Ram of Tyre, today in the modern nation of Lebanon, is credited in 2 Samuel 5:11 and 1 King 5 and 1 King chapter 5 verse 1 through 10 for having sent building materials and men for the original construction of the temple in Jerusalem. In the Masonic drama, Haram, king of Tyre, is clearly distinguished from Haram Abif. The former is clearly a king and latter clearly a master craftsman. They be confused in other contexts. So in 1 King chapter 7, 13 through 14, Haram is described as the son of a widow from the tribe of Naphtali, who was the son of the Tyrian bronze worker sent forward by Solomon to cast the bronze furnishing and ornate decoration for the new temple. From this reference, Freemasons often refer to Haram as the widow's son. Haram cast three bronze and clay ground in the plain of the Jordan between Succoth and Zarethan. 1 Kings 7, 46 to 47. So right here, as you can see, there was some form of science being used, because guess what? They was building the temple for Solomon. So there, right there is science taking place. All right.
Yeah, there's
So
no temple. There's no evidence of a temple of Solomon. First
of
of all,
course, there's no evidence of temple. Okay, of course, the Bible is based off of mythology. We know that. We know the Bible is based
so there's
off of
no Mason.
mythology. We know that the
There's
Bible is not real. Okay, we know that. We know that
no, I'm
it's a
trying to tell you.
literature.
So how you gonna have
Hold on,
Masons
hold
if
on,
it
wait a
ain't
minute.
real?
Hold on. Just hold on. We know that the Bible is based off of mythology, is nothing more than a book. That's all the word. The word Bible means a book. That's all it
Okay.
is. Okay. We know that it's a literature. We know that. We got that part established. All right.
Thought you said it
But
was
when I
Mason.
was saying that the brother was showing to those in the religious community that say, oh, we don't agree with science, we don't believe in science. Well, if you don't believe in science, obviously you didn't read certain scriptures in the Bible and to see that there were some science taking place. So how can't you say you don't believe in science if you don't realize that and say that you read the Bible? But if you was reading the Bible, then you will pay attention to certain scriptures that was in the Bible that would describe the scientific or those that was into the science field, you know what I'm saying? But they didn't use the term science as we know of today, but we know the description of what it is science.
That's just his interpretation, though, Tiff. So another person can look at that scripture and say it's something else.
But I just showed you. I
No, you
showed
didn't. I
you
just told you the way there's no
the
Solomon's temple. There's
bronze, the
never
craftsman.
seen Solomon's temple. Yeah. So of course it's going to take craftsmen to build a stone edifice. It's going to
So
take
you tell me they're
stone
not using science?
because they ain't found the Solomon's temple though for them to use science.
No, I'm talking about in the Bible, based on the mythology, based on the literature. Let's just say the literature. We're not gonna say, because so you thinking from a literal standpoint. That's what you try and use literal
Well, how else can I
interpretation.
think?
Yeah, you
How else
use
can
the
I
literal
think?
interpretation. Let's get away from the literal interpretation. Let's look at it as a literature. According to the literature, according to the book, the literature, right? There was craftsmen. So you telling me those craftsmen and those people that made bronze and all of that, you telling me that they didn't use science
You can be a
according to the literature?
you can be a craftsman and not practice science. Are you serious? Like science is a very serious, complicated endeavor, and it took thousands of
So
years
you
to
tell me
really.
they don't practice engineering?
Huh?
So there's no form of engineering or
Yeah,
earliest form of engineering?
yeah, but yeah, like the pyramids was engineered. It take geometry and engineering, yeah, but they the ones that gave the world science though.
So you tell me craftsmen didn't use a form of technology where
They
what
use
we
math.
call technology?
No, they use math. They use math. Math ain't science. Math
Math
is a
is
tool of
science.
science.
That's a form of science.
No, it's a tool of science. It's not one of the sciences, but it's a tool. You know,
Let's
some
look
people
up
go back and
mathematics.
forth
Let's
on
look
that
up
shit.
mathematics.
Some people go back and forth on that. You know that, right?
Hold on. Let's look up mathematics. Let's see what is mathematics. According to this information, it's the abstract science of number, quantity, and space. Mathematics may be studied in its own right, pure mathematics, or as it is applied to other disciplines such as physics and engineering. So you're telling me that
You say abstract, right?
mathematics is not science?
I'm saying it's the abstract, like it says. I'm just stick to the definition. That's what it say, right? I ain't gonna go outside of
Yes.
that. I like that. I
Okay.
like that.
So I don't understand. I mean,
I'm gonna go with you on that. I mean, what you want me to defeat the
I mean, your
definition you read?
argument is like it doesn't line. It doesn't make sense. Like what are
I
you?
know you don't get. One day you don't get it. I'm sticking to the. I'm gonna stick straight to the science and the scientific method and let y'all do all that. I ain't doing all that because I don't see scientists do that. And in Africa, they use the scientific method like the same way they do in Germany. That's what makes it science because it's consistent around the world. Now, if you want to tell me if people don't try to throw racism and all that shit in it, that's a different question. That's a different thing. But you can't throw your juju and your voodoo rituals in it. They be like, yo, get that shit out of here, yo. You feel me? That's for sure.
No, you can't. No. But okay, how can I say this?
You just
No, you
trying to,
can't.
you don't want to move away. Check your thing. Check your phone.
Who you talking about me? Check my
Yeah,
phone.
check your phone. You get an email?
Okay, well, I have a book.
You get email.
Hold on, let me see the email. Let me see what email you're talking about. Give me a second.
Check your damn cash app.
Hold on, let me go ahead. You said what?
Check your cash app.
Okay, hold on. Oh, Greg want to get back on here. Let me go ahead and put Greg back on here.
I ain't arguing with Greg. He's a flam and switch it up, mix it together. Pill to antiquity.
So hold on. Let me. I don't see anything, Unc.
I hit your cash app for the. That's your cash app thing on there, right?
Yeah, I don't see anything popping up yet.
You need to.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate that.
Support your show. Absolutely. You supported me forever.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Let's see what Greg wants to say. So you're saying that craftsmen don't have to use science. So how they're gonna make something if they don't use science?
Y'all, exactly. They ain't using no empirical data. They just use
No, you don't have to use empirical data, but you're using engineering.
Math, geometry.
But you're still using that's still part of science.
So it's no empirical data, there's no math and geometry and metallurgy. And metallurgy?
Metallurgy. Man, it's metallurgy.
Right. I'm saying, it's no science in that?
It's rudimentary aspects.
Rudimentary aspects.
Yeah, I'm giving y'all the rudimentary aspects.
What?
Rudimentary aspects.
I'm saying all pulled together in Egypt though. Hold on, wait. Let's be real, man.
Do it to yourself, my old friend.
Yeah, let's be real. Check this out. The ideas start to culminate in Egypt, right? These ideas are added on to and expounded upon in Greece and Rome.
Right.
When the Roman Empire fell, all the literature and all that shit fell.
Right.
You hit the Dark Age. Dark Age simply meaning there's no written literature in this time period. So obviously they're not conducting fucking empirical science because they ain't got no literature to say they was. And
then you had the Muslim resuscitation.
Hold on. Then during the Arabs' golden age, how did the Arabs reach their one and only golden age? They started a school called the House of Wisdom in Baghdad, Iraq. Okay, modern day Iraq. It's called the House of Wisdom. And what did they do? It was the translating house. And they translated Greek text, the Greek philosophy. They translated all that shit, Egyptian shit. And so then they take the science, right? And they pass it on to Europe. What they go to they go to Spain, Cordova, and all these areas.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But
that's the era style and approach that you're saying is superior. It's quote unquote better. It's the 16th century.
It came through the ancient world, though, Greg. What you want me to say, yo?
The 16th century Euro remix.
So it's not a remix, man. You can't even remix this shit.
Each era is different, bro. Greg. The Egyptians, like the Greeks and Romans, did it different than the Egyptians.
Nah,
right?
They didn't. No, they
the Muslims, they had their own approach. Yes, now in principle,
they had their own approach.
Yeah, though. And that's
so the 16th century post-Moorish Euro comeback remix is a version and methodology and approach as well.
You made that up, Greg. You don't have no. I just read how it went.
I'm going off your source.
No, the source don't say they remix nothing.
No, the remix part. I'm saying remix because it was different than their predecessors.
It wasn't different, bro.
Yes, it was. For one, the separation between spirituality and science.
No, you keep
them being dualized, polarized opposites instead of being different sides of the same magnet.
Why would you take Egyptian culture, yo, instead of just taking the sign? It don't make no sense, Greg. They
What you
got their
mean?
own spirituality, meaning
I
that
don't
the
I don't
thought you go
operate
through the
under
faith
one or the other. I think that it's usually a
is
balance of
not the
both.
same, Greg. Spirituality in one country and one tribe is different from spirituality in another country. There's no
I
consensus of
agree.
what spirituality is. So why
But
would they need to take the Egyptian shit? For what? It
why would
don't
they
make
need
no
to
sense.
take it?
House.
Okay, so now
Don't
you're
make
agreeing
sense.
with me that it's a different approach and different methodology
No, it's
with these
not.
different eras and different people that were engaging in science. Because
Man,
now it sounds like you're supporting that and giving
I
more.
am absolutely in support of modern science. Simple as that. Just say, yo, all right, you doing okay.
Okay,
Simple as
what
that. Like, just
Okay,
go get
we
it done.
support modern science too. We're not against modern
definitely,
science.
No, you
We
act
support
like the
modern
definitely do.
science,
Egyptians
but we
had a
do know that. But we do know for a fact that everybody is
better
not
science.
doing methodology the same way.
And I'm
We
saying,
know
can you
that.
not? It's only one scientific method until they come up with something better, yo. What you want me to do? It is what it is. It's a very tight ship. That's why it worked, because everybody can't
Okay,
act like they got the Germans can't act like we got indigenous German science, and then the Russians say we got indigenous Russian science. Then the Africans say we got the indigenous voodoo science. Like that shit.
okay,
That's when the shit was in total chaos.
right.
Oh,
You're dismissing things without employing the scientific method on them
Like what?
by saying that it's never been done.
It
For
obviously
instance,
wasn't done.
no, that's not true. Okay, so what's the criteria that you base that off of?
I'm
What
basing
you can
off the
see,
fact that the
what you
Egyptians.
can research on it.
No, me and you know that the Egyptians, where they spirituality and they science show, they was mixing it. You know it, not know it. We ain't gonna sit up here and argue that.
Yeah, everybody was. Everybody did
Okay,
until
right,
the
right, right.
16th century scientific revolution. Once the Europeans took their stuff back over and picked up where the Muslims left
No,
off.
right. So the Muslims separated it. That's why the shit end up falling, because you get some ignorant ass Khalifa, yeah, I'm saying, or Imam to say science was evil, and they fucked it up, and they ain't reached the golden age since and been subjected to Europe. As soon as they got away from science, the empire fell. Completely gone. Ain't challenged nobody. That's my point I'm making. The same thing happened
Now
to the Egyptians.
you
They got
doing the
wiped out.
Texas sharpshooter fallacy, bro.
No, it's the
Where you
truth.
aiming at isolated
No, you can
incidents,
see it.
isolated aspects, and making it account for the whole. When there's a whole lot of other factors that play roles in that you're
All I
being
want to tell you
oblivious
is,
to.
all I want to tell you is that West Africa was ill prepared for cannons and intercontinental ships and guns and rifles and a bunch of line white, but it was ill prepared for that, yo. If
Right.
they would have been, they would have fought their ass tooth and nail, and it would and there would have been that.
But who brought gunpowder there first? Why did Marco Polo even get sent over there in the first place?
I'm not arguing that about the Chinese having
Ramadan. Fireworks for Ramadan.
I'm not okay. But that's not. I mean, how
So
does that
they been had gunpowder, but they
right?
did not have that
Okay.
predatory innovative edge.
Ah,
Like
see,
we could use this
predatory. What you mean? They
innovation.
had spears.
Predatory innovation.
They had weaponry. They had weapons.
Yes, but they weren't thinking like goons though, like
No,
trying to
you
take it
see,
up a notch.
nah, you made that up. They was.
Yes, that's
See, Empire
true.
thinks like
They
a
had the
goon.
same gunpowder. Ones was thinking to celebrate with it and have fun. Other was thinking like, man, we could make some weapons with this.
Who
That
fault
has
is
to do
that?
with the way ones were looking at things.
No, those same people that use gunpowder for ceremonial purposes had killer weaponry. What are you talking about? They just didn't have
So
that advanced weaponry. What are you saying? Empires, the very word
not
empire
like what them white folks did with it.
means to incorporate other people within your empire, meaning subjugate them to your culture. That's what an empire does, Greg. You had empires in Africa. They killed other tribes, and Shaka Zulu is a prime example of using better technology to subjugate other African tribes into the Zulu Empire. They was an empire. They killed other people. Come on, bro. He keep bad, boy. Greg keep bad internet connection. Hey, Tiff.
Yo, what's up?
All right, I'm out of here. Yo, I appreciate you, man. Gave you a little donation.
Okay,
I thought it was a
I
good
wanted to tell you
conversation.
there was a book. I was trying to find it, but
Uh-huh.
I have it on my phone.
What's the name of the damn channel, though, Tiff?
It's my name, Tiffany French. Oh, there you go. Hold on. So, right, I have a book. It's called Introducing African Science: Systematic and Philosophical Approach by Jonathan O. Chimakonam. You
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't see it's on my phone, but yeah, there it goes.
Send it to me. Send it to me.
Okay, I'll send
Let
it
me
to
see.
you.
Tiffany French. Let me see. Oh, I got you.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. It says studies in African philosophy, science, logic, and mathematics. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but they're gonna use science. They ain't gonna come up with nothing else.
Wow.
How you know? How you know right now that,
I
that
know, man.
this is the
It's science.
presumptuous
It's
appeal to
not because
authority
then
genetic
it's not
fallacy
science, then, Greg.
combination that you've made famous?
Greg, then it's not science, then Greg, then it's something else, and maybe it worked better. The world will find out, won't it?
But if we don't explore
Explore
and
what, Greg?
demonstrate, experiment, document off of those experimentations, then what are we really doing?
That
Just
is
passing
science,
off
Greg.
something somebody else said.
But Greg, but that's science, though, Greg. What you just said is science. What you saying?
Exactly. So be scientific with what you presume to be pseudo
I'm telling
without
you,
doing the due diligence and research and scientific
Greg.
experimentation.
Greg, if you do something else besides experiment, empirical data, and scientific method, then
Well,
it ain't
say you
science.
don't know instead of
You do
saying it's
know because
pseudo
we
and
know what
fake
science is.
until
No,
you're
I didn't
willing to
say
be
anything.
scientific with it.
So why would you need to represent something as science if you got your whole new different lane? Why would you have to represent it as science then?
I'm saying why not be scientific with what you presume to be pseudo without doing due diligence and research?
Because I know there was no biblical prophets practicing science in the damn Genesis. Now I
Now,
have to
now
do a
see,
scientific
Proto
methodology.
that's a
proto
non
science.
sequitur,
You
false
bugging, yo.
dichotomy.
God, so now Yahweh was actually I ain't messing with you, Greg. You
Who
crazy.
brought up Yahweh but you? You just threw that
We ain't saying
extreme
nothing
out
about
there.
no
Listen
Yahweh.
to conversation. That video you had me watch, that dude said that Yahweh was experimenting when he made man and said it was good. Come on, dude. That was the most ridiculous shit I've ever heard in my life.
There you go again. You still dealing with the literal concept.
Yeah. See, you
Who's
trying
said
to
that
engage in some
You
though?
going
gotcha
at it from a
scholarship
literal
right now.
perspective.
Oh
You must
man.
not
You're
have
not
too
even
many bullets
understanding the
in your
allegory.
clip.
You're
It's
not
getting
understanding the allegories.
it's getting unstable over here. Look, I'm out of here though, Greg. It's
Okay,
Ah,
good.
then.
yeah.
Good
All
to
right,
holler
then.
at you,
Hey, I
Greg
want to get
L.
you on the hot seat one day too, man.
I know. I'm waiting on you.
I got a pro-vax all-star team that's waiting for you.
Are y'all really ready for that, Greg? Greg, you ain't took your vaccine yet, Greg?
Not at all.
Are you
You know what I'm
serious?
taking?
I already
I'm
got
taking
vaccinated. I got
CMOS.
vaccinated.
Look, I'm taking CMOS, lysine, red marine algae, and olive leaf extract. And I ain't got no problem.
Hey, Tiff, you get your
I'm
vaccine yet? We ain't
experimenting.
doing
Yeah, I
that.
got my vaccine. I got both
Yeah,
of
we
them.
ain't listening
I'm
to that nigga.
experimenting.
I got both
And
vaccines,
I'm
so I'm
recording
good.
the data. You feel? I'm documenting the data.
Yay.
I'm experimenting.
I like that. I like
I'm so serious. I know it sounds funny. I can't help but sound funny. I'm
I
from the
know you,
west side
yo.
of Chicago.
You would actually be that arrogant to do that shit, yo. You is crazy, yo.
Yeah, I'm a mad scientist.
No, but you do know the immune system can't be stimulated by food and herbs and all
It
that
doesn't
shit.
have to be. So this the
Yes,
thing,
it
right?
do. It do.
No, it's not. Things that have
Antibodies against the
antiviral
disease.
qualities. Look, right? Something does not have to make your immune system stronger in
No,
order
I
to
didn't say that.
generate a stronger result.
I never
Let's
said that,
look at the
Greg.
foundation of inoculation.
Greg, no, the foundation of
Hold
inoculation
on.
is
Hold on.
teaching your body how to protect itself against a particular
Hey,
pathogen.
check ball, man. Let me dribble real quick. You reach, I teach. Check ball. So for there to be things that have antiviral qualities that could inhibit viruses' ability to replicate, then that in and of itself helps the immune system have an easier conquest by weakening the opponent that the immune system is fighting against. So yes, you're right. It doesn't make the immune system stronger. What it does is have antiviral qualities. What they do is have antiviral qualities that make the virus's ability to replicate be impeded, making it easier for the immune system to do what it do.
It's therapeutic, yo. It's after.
That's different. But yeah, you and others love to do that. Y'all love to bait and switch and straw man fallacy that be like, it ain't making your immune system stronger. No, it's making the viruses weaker. That helps too.
Anything about making your immune system
Greg,
stronger.
can I ask you a question? Are you a naturopathy? Naturopathy?
It's another
somewhat. I'm eclectic. So I try to avoid using a lot of stuff that's like synthetic. But I will. I mean, when my appendix busted, I went to the hospital. You feel me?
Right. So we don't want to hear right up to his benefit.
I'm saying, but I always think it's dumb to just stick to any one side of anything.
Greg, do you hear what you're doing?
A mixture of such is.
I mean, he has that right. If he don't agree with the investment, that's on him.
Make up some shit. He do. Hey,
but
Greg,
you're more level. You're more level-headed.
I mean, everybody don't want to be vaccinated.
Hey, Greg,
Sister,
I never said.
Sister Tiffany, you're more level-headed.
Yeah, I ain't level-headed. I ain't dumb. My nephew just argued me down in court the coronavirus. All right. I ain't trying that shit. But
yeah,
Greg,
okay, but yeah, just quit misconstruing antiviral with immune boosting.
Antiviral drugs make your immune system stronger. I ain't say nothing about you cannot make your immune system stronger.
But that's not what it's supposed to do anyway. That's why it's a straw man fallacy.
If I said it, I never said that. So I never mentioned that. I simply said that having antiviral drugs is after the fact. After you catch a virus and then it starts to work on it with antiviral drugs. A vaccine is not that. A vaccine is the prevention of catching said virus that can produce a disease in you. We're talking about two separate things.
No, that's inoculation, sir.
No, it's
that's the science.
Greg.
That's the science of inoculation. Okay, vaccination.
They're interchangeable terms, Greg.
No, they're not. They're not interchangeable. They're not synonymous. Vaccination is a means of trying to inoculate.
No, man, come on, Greg.
They're not the same.
Greg.
One is a means of trying to do the other. That's another straw man fallacy. You end up trying to use the credibility of vaccines. You bait and switch with the credibility of the science of inoculation. But what about other ingredients that are in them that aren't just predicated towards having being a catalyst for inoculation?
I don't know what you're talking about, Greg.
Okay, so for instance. How does
get that?
I'm gonna start low with the easiest formaldehyde. How does formaldehyde help the process of inoculation?
Yeah, it actually stops the ingredients from causing you to get an infection. Breastfeeding women have formaldehyde in their breasts. So what are you talking about, Greg?
Wait. Now you're saying two different things. Hold on. I'm gonna go back. Greg. Yes, we also have arsenic in our systems as well.
Okay.
We also have sulfur. And one of the reasons why our turds smell so bad is because of sulfur. But it's not about having it. It's the balance of it or imbalance thereof.
No, you know what you're talking
about. So to say that we have formaldehyde in us anyway does not mean that extra unnatural doses are just as healthy as the regular healthy balance. See how you be straw man fallacy? Straw man shuffles?
All right, here you go. I'm showing my screen.
Okay, so what about cadaver DNA? How does cadaver DNA help the inoculation process?
Oh man, you saying anything now, bro.
What, cadaver DNA?
Yeah, you saying any goddamn thing. Now you just
how does cadaver DNA help the inoculation process?
Y'all see my screen? You see my screen too?
Yeah, I see it.
Inoculation. It says inoculation is the set of methods of artificially inducing immunity against various infectious disease. The term inoculation, vaccination, and immunization are often used simultaneously, but there are some important differences amongst them. So, like I said, the term can be used interchangeably, and then we can get into the different precise differences. Come on, bro. What is wrong with you, cadaver? Go show me that source they're using cadaver. Are you talking about cells?
I'm on my phone.
Fetuses?
I'm on my phone, so I can't do that. But I would love to revisit this if you, like I say, I wonder if you're running from Lee Taylor or not. But he got some questions and sources for you.
No,
You feel me? Like, come to the hot seat.
Listen,
I ain't trying to plug though or nothing, but come to the hot seat.
This is what I need you to do. Get 5 of your best people, and me and my Sean gonna come in there and wipe the floor with them. Go get
All right, bet them up.
Matter of fact, it's gonna be me, Sean, and Ngozi. We'll do that.
And quit making 16th century scientific revolution, Eurocentric science, Trump,
got you,
African-centered science.
All right, okay.
Stop making European science, Trump, African-centered science, and trying to use principles as fronts, veneers.
You don't practice no African religion, though. You just as African American as me. You ain't doing no sacrifices and all that, are you, Greg?
I mean, but that's non sequitur. Because it wasn't a personal context to what was said. You trying to segue into me. This ain't Uno, brother. You trying to do reverse back to me like Uno?
Greg, you can't actually stand up here and talk about that I'm putting some Euro over African. You don't even practice African traditions and customs, bro. That's kind of...
Yes, you're putting a Eurocentric approach. So I mean, it's all over this live, bro.
You are, though, but you're saying
it's all over this live. You said that,
brother. You're saying that you're African-centered.
I'm African-centered because my ancestors come from Africa, and I'm
right.
What about your ideology?
I'm African because it was born in me, but
biologically, but not ideologically.
Okay, here's the thing. Why you saying that? You're saying that you're African-centered, but your approach to science is come from a European perspective. That's what we're trying to get at.
Yeah, you biologically African-centered, but you're ideologically Eurocentric.
At this, you two ain't none of y'all practicing sacrifices.
I didn't say that.
So why y'all messing with me about
that's the Shem God.
I'm not saying that, but
that's the Shem God crossover you trying to do, talking about what we practicing personally.
Okay, so what about y'all as African? What indigenous African practices do y'all do that y'all can look
I didn't say that I practice.
That ain't even what we talking about.
That's not even
straw man fallacy.
What?
You misrepresent the argument to make it easier to attack. Straw man fallacy.
Okay, let's keep
one-on-one.
Okay, whatever. I know you're misusing the fallacies, but let me say this, Greg. Show me how my approach to science, right, is Western. And I say, well, if it is, it works, and I'm fine with that. Okay, the hell with the African shit then, if that's the point you're trying to make.
Own that. That's all I want you to do, is own that.
Finish my point. Okay. But you, on the other hand, ain't nothing about, you don't wear African clothes, African jewelry, nor do you practice any traditional African custom tradition. Don't speak no language.
Are you sure about that, sir?
I'm positive.
Are you sure about that, sir?
I'm positive.
Okay, I'm just gonna give you one. Okay, this is from Senegal.
You gonna give me a drum, yo?
Yes, drumming, ceremonial drumming.
Oh God,
Fula house of swag. I do this.
All right, Greg. Hey, Greg, you won, yo. Thank you for being.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Don't do me. Don't do me. What is you doing? It ain't about me no way, man. I'm just a messenger, not the message.
Greg picked up hey, Tiffany, he picked up a drum so small, damn he got that shit on
big things come in small packages, man.
Wow. Okay.
Wow. Hey, Greg, something else. Hey, get
no
your
pun intended.
Get your boys.
And plus, the size of it, it's about what you do with it. Again, it's about demonstrating.
Okay, Greg, you gonna get your
replicating.
You gonna get your crew together, Greg. You finally got them together. You've been waiting through the whole pandemic. After the vaccine start working, to act like.
Okay, so what about the placebo effect? Let's talk about the placebo effect real quick. And its biokinetic implications. I repeat, biokinetic implications.
No such things on that. Give me a source.
There's no such thing as placebo?
Placebo effect is just that, a placebo effect. What is
hold on. Let Brother explain the placebo effect.
Yeah.
Explain it.
When you give somebody the real pill and give somebody a sugar pill, and the person with the sugar pill might get better, You know what I'm saying? Like the person with the real thing, they call that the placebo effect, which means absolutely nothing. The person could have been getting better anyway. Greg.
You just butchered that. Bogus. This is what I'm saying, bro.
Okay,
You
so
gotta be
really,
able
that's not a
to
placebo
elocute
effect, Greg.
the other side of the argument at least as good as your own. If not, you playing propaganda.
All right, Greg. I'm gone. I said I was gone.
Okay,
20
then.
minutes. Let me get off. All
All
right,
right,
Greg.
That was
then. All right,
almost
then.
tongue in cheek.
All right, Greg.
All right, then, y'all. I gotta get off of here, but I appreciate both of y'all
All
being
right.
on here. And
Peace and love.
don't try to be slick no more. Don't
Yes,
try to
For
be
real.
slick. Cause
Yes,
yeah,
ma'am.
cause I know what you try to. I know what that game you try to pull. You try to pull that atheist move. That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm an
Yeah.
atheist.
See, you think I don't be knowing that? That's what you be
I am
doing.
an atheist, though.
But you pull
Yeah.
that atheist move on me. That's what you're doing.
No,
See,
I'm
I be
not.
right.
I'm
You
trying to
think
give
I
you
don't be
real
paying
signs.
attention? You think I don't be paying attention?
I'm just getting you real signs. Greg, no. Greg is Satan.
Hey, you never know when Greg might pop up, old friend.
Yeah, old friend popped
All
about.
right,
No, first time I see you on the camera, your phone barely works sometimes. I feel you, Greg. Old
He's
friend.
so funny.
All right,
Peace and
then.
love, though, Sister Tiffany.
Okay, then. Peace. Thank you,
All right,
Greg,
y'all.
for
Peace.
coming through.
Peace.
And
Oops. All right, then. All right, y'all. So that was the longest episode I ever did. 3 hours and 6 minutes. But you guys, thank you for watching. For those of you that were, and make sure you guys check out my channel, which is the Tiffany French channel, and also you can share my video, my contents. Check out all the contents I have done on here. Also, make sure you hit the notification bell. And with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Thank you. And also, don't let nobody take you off your discourse of knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Just because someone have their own point of view about things and they don't see things the way you see it, that doesn't mean that they have the right to take that away from you. So the whole point is study for yourself, know for yourself. Okay? You know, you gotta start from somewhere. So even if it's something that's very pseudo, you gotta start there and elevate from there to understand why it's pseudo and how come it's pseudo. You know what I mean? So you can find out the truth, because you're not gonna find out the truth if you never dealt with something that is a lie, or that's half truth or half lie. You know what I mean? Right. So you gotta start somewhere. Again, as I said before, the gentleman that wrote these books, he came from a place of trying to explain science in a more allegorical sense. So he may not articulate every single thing. He may not have, he may use the pseudo concept of science, or, the pseudo concept to explain modern science. However, he did what he could, and the brother is pretty intelligent. So I advise you guys out there who really desperately want to learn science, if you want to check him out, go ahead and check out his channel. It's African Creation Energy. The brother does a good job at breaking down things and explaining things. So I suggest for you guys to check it out for yourself. But always, do it with an open mind. Always do your diligent research. Always question the source information. Always question information. That's very important. Question and research is very important. And with that being said, y'all, I'm about to log off of here. This your girl Tiffany, and I'm out. May peace and power and elevation be to all of you. Thank you so much.